This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good afternoon, fellow safarians, and welcome to, well, a overcast, cloudy start to our sunset safari this afternoon. Hopefully it will be a good omen for many, many things that will be out and about and fairly active. My name is Tristan. On camera I've got David, and we are live in Djuma Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands, and that means that all of you are welcome to ask as many questions as you would like to on #SafariLive on Twitter. Now, we're just at Gauri Dam. We're busy scanning about, just having a little look around, just seeing where the young Prince Hosanna has gone from here. No sign of him at the waterhole at the moment, so I don't know if any of you actually saw which way he went from the dam itself. It would be quite helpful to know, so just you can send that through, and if you did see which way he did go, I'm sure he's around here somewhere. I'll have a little scan around for him before we head off a little bit further to the east and try and see if we can find any sign of Thandi and Little One, and maybe even Chitwa Dam, and go and check on how our little baby hippo is doing. That's the plan from our side. There will also be James and Sydney that are going to be out and about on Djuma, and then in the Mara it sounds like David and Jamie will be joining us a little bit later. So lots happening this afternoon. Hopefully it'll be a good one. There's lots of interesting prospects. There's a few surprises up our sleeves, I think, as well this afternoon. Oh, I forgot Wendy got fixed today, so I have to be a little bit more gentle on the start. She's been a bit choky of late. She, as James and I were talking, it's like she had smoked many cigarettes all through her life and was a bit kind of spluttery to start the day, but that's changed. Oh, there's Hosanna's favorite food behind the dam wall, so I wonder where he is. Maybe he's watching it, but there's a little duiker that's just disappearing underneath one of the trees there, so that will be a target this evening, and that little one better be very careful with Hosanna being around. I'm pretty sure he's not far away, and he would love to snack on a little duiker again, so that one better watch out and be a little careful about what's going on. Now, I said that Sydney was out and about, and well, he's ready to say good afternoon to all of you, and I wonder what he's going to be following up on this afternoon.
A very good afternoon to you all. I am Sydney and I am traveling with Ferg. He is my camera operator this afternoon. For your questions and comments, you can follow us on Twitter, #SafariLive. You can also follow us on YouTube chat stream. My plan this afternoon is the lions. I've already arrived in the area where the probabilities of a lion sighting are very high this afternoon. The weather is excellent at the moment. No wind, there's a little bit of clouds, but it's not cold. I think this is the weather very suitable to have some animal activities. So I'm just gonna now start looking for these lions in this area. I know this lion has been spotted here earlier this morning, so the chances are very much high. I'm just trying to pick up some tracks, but I can see that it's very quiet at the moment. Lions, they prefer to rest a lot during the day. They might be hiding somewhere here. So I'm looking for the Talamati pride. It's Unkuhuma pride, sorry. The grass is very much gray at the moment, so everything is just more like the lion's color. It's very camouflaging. So I have been here. There's only some hyena tracks here, but not yet the lion tracks. I'm just picking up. It means the hyenas are following them. These hyena tracks, I'm going to follow them until I see where this. So while I'm looking for these lions, we are now going to Mara and see what Janie has got to show you this afternoon.
and welcome to the Mara and the Sunset Safari. My name is Jamie, and this afternoon Manu is on camera with me, and we are, wait for it, we're looking for hyena. Big surprise. Not that I'm complaining, because I really enjoy spending so much time with the spotted hyena of the Masai Mara. So for those of you who are new to the safari, you'll notice a dramatic change to the landscape. And if perhaps you are unfamiliar with where we are in the Masai Mara of Kenya, where essentially all sorts of wildlife, like this marabou stork over here, is very much the same as the wildlife that you would see in South Africa, with a few dramatic differences. And at the moment we are right in the middle of the biggest difference, which is the Great Migration, and which is why the marabou storks have arrived in their droves, following behind the migration, which of course, when you get 1 million animals moving through an area, you get lots of deaths, whether it's lions or crocodiles or drownings, and the marabou storks are scavengers. So they capitalize on that, ultimately earning a very I don't know if it's a well-deserved reputation, but certainly combined with the look and the sort of the silhouette, somewhat sinister-looking silhouette of the marabou stork, they do become known as the undertakers. There is something undertakery. Could you describe it? Undertakery? Would that be an adjective? Not sure you can make that into an adjective, but we have now. Admittedly, not the most beautiful of birds, but probably as much misunderstood as the spotted hyena that we're looking for. And so as a result, I feel a natural sort of sympathy for them. They're not, by any stretch of the imagination. I think you could probably call them, in terms of positive adjectives, you could call them powerful, you could call them striking, but beautiful, perhaps not. There are lots of beautiful storks. Marabous are not on that list. Jimmy, they do, don't they? They have that scavenger look. I like to think of it as patience, the look of somebody who is, or something, who is willing to wait around, to wait and see what's going to happen. But you're right, I suppose vultures, marabous, and to an extent hyenas, although hyenas technically don't classify, or spotted hyenas don't classify as scavengers. They classify as predators. But they do have that hunched over look, I hear you. There's something scavengery. There we go, we're making everything into a verb, an adjective. At the moment what it's doing is hanging out around this whole river system, which is called the Magoro drainage line, or Laga. Oh, mongoose. Well spotted, Manu. Very impressive. I was going to say it's all drying up and they're eating the fish. End of marabou and on to mongoose. No, I much prefer the mongoose. Let's stick with them. A group of banded mongoose that, interestingly enough, you will see on Djuma if you're unbelievably lucky. But here in the Mara, we encounter them quite regularly. Some of the troops are quite, well, they're actually quite relaxed with vehicles. Some less so. I can see movement still. They're moving through. It was here that it is actually probably this exact group of banded mongoose that we saw attack the jackal. For those of you who can think back that far in time, and I couldn't begin to tell you when that was. It happened. There is actually, I can see, sorry Moni, before you disappear off, I can still see one underneath the gardenias. If you follow the gardenias, and there. Perfect. Well done. I don't know when it was that the mongoose attacked the jackal, but it was one of the most unexpected moments, I think, ever in terms of wildlife presenting that I've had. I've had some surprising moments. That ranks very high up on that list. It'd be interesting if we could follow mongoose in the same way that we do hyenas, but we can't, and I definitely don't have enough time in my day to do that. So last night we followed the hyenas into the night until they ditched us, essentially. So not very much happened. But now we've got to go and find them again. So while we've been unsuccessful in our search for spots, the same cannot be said for the guys in South Africa.
Well, no, Jamie, not at all. We've been very successful, although this afternoon we came past here and didn't see anything. And thanks to Rocky, who sent in a tweet about Hosanna being at the pan still, we've managed to find him. But, well, you would never really know it looking at that grass. It's very difficult to see. But if we go deeper and deeper into the grass, you'll eventually start to see those spots moving right in the middle of that long, thick grass. So there is Hosanna lying right in the thicket. It is almost impossible to see him at the moment. You can only see him if you really park quite close to this long grass. And we didn't see him until he actually popped his little head up, and we just saw these two ears coming out of the grass itself. So he really is camouflaged incredibly well down there. Now, the problem is that where we are currently is sitting right next to him. Now, there is some impalas that are approaching towards the waterhole, and I'm a bit worried that they might not drink given our proximity to Hosanna. Now, when we first got here, there was no sign of these impalas absolutely anywhere, and so it was okay to park where we are. But now that these impalas are approaching, although they seem like they're approaching no problem, so we'll see if they keep coming. I'm sure this is what Hosanna has been waiting for, and I obviously don't want to ruin his hunt in any way whatsoever. So I was thinking about backing off, but if I back off, those impalas most definitely are going to feel like something is up. And now that we're off and they sort of seem to be just walking straight towards us, it's actually maybe better just to sit dead still and just wait and see what's going to take place. I think we might see them come down and drink. Whether Hosanna is going to be able to strike from there, I don't think so. It's a little bit far from him to be able to catch one of those impalas, unless the impalas drink and shift down along this grassy thicket. But even then, he's probably a little far off. What he's doing is he's just sitting tight for the day and making sure that he can relax here in order to wait for the night to fall. And as soon as night falls, then he's going to be doing his usual stunt of hunting the various animals that come down to drink during the cover of darkness, which is normally things like little duikers and impalas that might come down, various other little things that move about. So I think we're in for an entertaining evening with Hosanna at the dam cam once again. So it's really been spoiling everybody by being the 24-hour cat, is what we should call him from now on, because he seems to just put on a show all the time. What's interesting, though, is that yesterday was one of the first days that we haven't woken up to Hosanna at the dam. He was a bit late this morning. He arrived at, I think, just before 6 he got here. But he was far from where we were. I mean, we found him close to Chelapan, and from Chelapan he then moved his way and wormed his way all the way through the Mulawati straight northwards. And I felt very sorry for him this morning because he was trying to hunt everything that he could along the way. He even went after a duiker, and as he was about to start really getting into the stalk, these hyenas arrived. And so Pretty and Pretty and Corky were the two that arrived and ended up absolutely ruining his hunt and sending him scurrying off. But he was quite close to that duiker, and it was very, very interesting to watch how he was going about things. But we'll see. Maybe this afternoon he'll get lucky. Maybe these impalas will come down to drink and he might strike. So we'll sit here for a little bit and be very, very patient. And while we do that, let's send you across to Jamie, who's sitting with a bird of prey that can be very patient as it sits and watches for some fish.
I have no doubt that Hosanna will hunt. He's a growing boy. But he needs to take some lessons from this fish eagle, who, much like the marabou stork of earlier, is capitalizing on the fact that all of the water is now drying out. Remember, we had massive, massive rains here in the Mara, or perhaps you didn't know, we had massive rains in the Mara around about May, and every part of this particular section was underwater. Now it's drying out, and the birds of prey are taking advantage of the catfish that are now flopping about in the mud. So massive fish, well, it can be quite massive, a type of fish that you find in lots of different water systems around Africa and throughout the world, actually. And I think this fish eagle has got one, and I think it's too big to pick up. Because it looks to me, it's definitely got something there. I can see its talons wrapped around something. Ah, what is it? My money's on catfish. And this whoa, 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 look at that. That's not a catfish, is it? That looks scaly. Did that look scaly? A monitor lizard? No way. It's moving as well. Is it still alive? Oh, that's insane. Oh, no, don't disappear. Ah, this is the best view we can get of this. Don't vanish. Now I'm very curious. The fish eagle and the monitor. Now there's a sighting you don't see every day. That definitely didn't look like a catfish to me. Did you lose it? Did you lose it? I think you lost it. Or you just... Yeah, lost it. Oh, yeah. Talons covered in mud. Nice, Manu. Beautiful. Talons covered in mud. And minus one very happy, I think, monitor lizard. Could have been a small crocodile. Could also have been a snake. But I think it looked more like a sort of solid set of scales. Ah. We'll never know now. I don't think. I'm not allowed to jump out of the car and go and have a look, as the guys are in South Africa. Unfortunately. As much as I would like to. And I can't drive up there either, so we'll have to settle for that mystery. I said to Manu earlier, I'm sure I just saw a fish eagle go down in there, and then nothing came back out again, so we went to investigate. No idea. I'm sure I saw a tail. It didn't, to me, that looked like hard scales, not smooth fish skin, scales, stuff. You know what I mean. Oh, is the hammerkop going to have a go? Listen here, buddy. I don't think you're going to succeed where the fish eagle didn't. I hate to break it to you. I know hammerkops are big souls in little bodies, but I don't think you're going to have quite the same experience. Oh, Manu, someone's come with that. That was naughty. Birds. Ndege. Ndege? Manu? Yes. Okay, good. Okay, I'm going to move out of the way. I'm blocking the road. We're going to move out of the way. It is high season in the Mara. There's lots of vehicles about. Let's go back across it to SA.
Water bottom. That is the bottom, of course, of Equus birchelli, the Burchell's zebra, plains zebra, similar to the zebra you've just been looking at, slightly different subspecies. My name is James Hendry. Hello. Strap in. There we go. And strap out. And we have Senzo on camera. Those are his three delightful fingers. And we are on the search for leopards, really. We are, of course, in preparation for television tomorrow morning. Ooh, very scary for us. And so we need to try and find as many kitty cats as we can. I'm assuming Sydney has found the lions from this morning, but I'm not entirely sure. We are attempting now to find Tingana, the male leopard. We know where Hoshala is. We've got Herbie out tracking the grumpy Queen Tundi. Let's just look at this fellow. He's got a few interesting things about him. The first is a gash on his buttocks. There we go, on his hind quarter. That almost certainly caused by the claws of Panthera leo, or a lion, possibly by a very sharp thorn as he was running away from Panthera leo. And then he's also got a nasty little injury on his bottom right fetlock. So bottom right ankle, basically, back. If you zoom in there, keep going down a bit and right. Yeah, that one that he's stamping. There's a little injury on the back, and that oxpecker, when I first saw it, was sitting on the injury. So he's obviously had a little bit of a rough time. And they're sitting at the old hyena den, one of the most salubrious neighbourhoods that they ever occupied, set in a lovely grove of tamburti trees, with one knobthorn for shade, and in summertime certainly a magnificent place for hyenas to set up camp. Gorgeous termite mound, very ancient indeed. And there's some other zebras just behind there. Very pleased that this is no longer an active hyena den. He seems to be standing somewhat shyly, almost as if he doesn't really know if he wants to speak to us or not. Now, I believe that Hosana is sleeping next to something he might quite like to eat.
Well, he's not very much asleep because he's watching as these impalas are slowly making their way down towards the water point. There's a bit of a breeze that's swirling about, which is making the impalas a little bit more nervous. There's a few francolins that have squeaked, that have kept them on alert. And you can see, look, you see how they're a little bit shy of what's going on now. They haven't seen Hosanna, but that's the francolins in the background that are having a disagreement that has now triggered those impalas to run a little bit. They haven't seen Hosanna. Hosanna's tucked in the grass just on our right hand side here. You can just see his head every now and then poking out of the grass, and so we moved away from the water a little bit. We've positioned ourselves further down and away just so that those impalas have a clear view to walk in towards the water hole and they don't think that we're right on top of them, and that way Hosanna and the impalas both have the ability to see what's going on. Now the francolins are ruining this because they're having a little territorial dispute. There's two spur files and tail spur files that were on this side here that were having a little argument on the edge of this mud wallow, so they're squeaking in the background, and the noise that they're making is one that they often make when they've been disturbed by a predator, and that's what got these impalas completely freaked and why they all ran, which is not ideal. Now I can't see any of the impalas anymore. They were slowly coming. There's actually one male that's still there, and the drive to drink will outweigh any threat at some point. You'll find that these impalas will keep coming and they'll go away a little bit and then they'll slowly move their way back again as the drive to drink outweighs their nervousness of the wind and various other things. So let's have a look and see how this goes. But it's interesting to watch his strategy. His strategy is pretty good. The only problem that he's got is that this little grassy bank that's growing next to the water point is just that little bit too far from the edge of the water when it's during the day. At night it's not so bad because he can slink around and it's really difficult for those impalas to see him. But during the day, if this grassy bank went right up towards the dam wall and right onto the edge of the water, I think Hosanna would be absolutely lethal here and probably would have killed way more animals than he has. This little grassy patch is just that little bit too far from where he has to actually strike, and so it's the best cover that he's got, but not quite ideal from a hunting point of view because it's that much too far away from the edge of the water. And so as those animals go down to drink and lose sight of anything, he's got to still creep up towards the dam wall and then poke his head over the top, which sometimes does give him away. So it's better for him at night because he can just kind of use the darkness to get around, but during the day a lot harder, and especially for things like impalas where there's a bit of a breeze blowing, and because Hosanna's been here so much over the course of the last few weeks, I'm pretty sure his scent is quite strong in this area. And it's not only him, we know that Tingana's been here, Tandi's been here, both have scent marked around this area. So the smell of leopard to this impala must be very, very potent, and they must know that there's danger around this area at every sort of corner of this little pan. So they are very wary about coming in to drink, and you can see they're just watching in our direction, just double checking, ears are moving a little bit, and you'll find that they'll slowly but surely move their way probably towards the pan. Now, Jamson, I hope so. It would be nice if he catches an impala. The problem with that he sharing it with all of his family is that he never gets anything from it. So if he caught an impala and Tandi, Tingana and Tlalamba all arrived here, we'll find that poor little impala wouldn't go very far, and Hosanna would probably lose out and do all the work and get very little, which is basically what's happened to him this week. Is he's caught these two duikers and he's had very little compared to Tingana and Tandi. They ate the majority of both of those carcasses, and so it's been tough for him in some respects, and catching food for your relatives is never easy. The interesting thing though is I'm still waiting for the sighting where Tingana and Tandi are here with Hosanna, because I feel like the dynamic there is going to be very different. As much as Tingana is tolerant of Hosanna on his own and Tandi is tolerant of Hosanna on her own, and even brought her cub back to a kill the other day with Hosanna here, which astounds me, it's still, I think, a bit of a interesting an uncertain situation when we think of Tingana being here and one of his females and offspring. Whether or not that's going to trigger him to be a lot more aggressive because he's got something to lose, I don't know. Maybe Tingana won't care and we'll have these four leopards just sitting together, but I somehow doubt it. I think if the female is here with the cub, I think Tingana's whole approach might be a lot different to what we saw when he's just with Hosanna by himself. Either way, it's fascinating to be watching what's going on and seeing how this whole process is taking place. Since Hosanna's been back, I don't think we could have predicted how much interaction we've had between our leopards and that he would have stayed for so long. And it really is amazing to watch. I don't think I've ever had a consistent period where we've had multiple leopard sightings and multiple leopards in a sighting like we've had over the course of the last 2 weeks. He really has provided a completely different dynamic to this area. Prior to his arrival, Tingana was around, Tandi and Kalamba were walking about, Hukumuri wasn't really seen, and then he got here and everybody is just kind of sucked in towards him, and we've got all of these crazy interactions happening between father and son and the two sisters and their brother. So it's been a really fascinating experience watching everything unfold. Interestingly enough, Hukumuri actually was here this morning. He crossed into our area at about 7:30, so he crossed north with a female. We don't know which female it was, and they went towards Treehouse Dam, and then Herbie eventually tracked him and found him crossing into Arathusa, and the female's tracks going back into Little Gari. So I wonder if maybe Kuchava wasn't around, or Shadulu, and potentially they've been mating. It's interesting to say, but either way, he did walk through and eventually then crossed out, and there was also a view of a female, or tracks of a female leopard as well. So maybe they'll be around the Treehouse Dam this afternoon or this morning. It'll be interesting to see how it goes. But there's Hosanna just watching some impalas in the distance again. I wonder if these impalas will make their way eventually towards this pan. I think that's what Hosanna's waiting for. He wants impalas to come. And I was actually just talking to David that there is a thicket here of quarries, which is actually not a bad place for him to go, because most antelope that come, they go to the pan, drink, and then they push off to this southern side through that little thicket. And I think if he sat in there, he might also get quite lucky. So I wonder if he's going to work that out eventually. Anyway, while we sit with Hosanna and see whether or not these impalas approach, let's send you back across to Sydney, well, who's found what he's been looking for this afternoon.
After such a very long trekking process, I nearly gave up, but suddenly I managed to get hold of the Unkuhuma Pride. They are all very resting. Only one, the head is up. The rest, they are just lying down. That is the only one I'm seeing now. It's a young male. He's just having his head up. The rest, they are just now enjoying their sleep. But it's normal. The lions, during the day, they prefer to sleep. These animals, they've got a very interesting record of about 18 hours spending on sleep. Puma, this is very much exciting. I'm also very much fascinated by this sighting because I haven't seen this Unkuhuma Pride for quite a long time now. Look at that. This is beautiful. But when looking at their bellies, I can see it seems like they are not full. Maybe they will do some hunting activities later on. Now the temperature is changing. Maybe now, with the influence of the temperature changes, they might become active just before the sunset. So this is quite a very big pride. I've counted 11 now. So this is what the lions do, especially after a meal. They must have to come and lie down so that, look at that paw, so that they can have a digestive system taking place. So what we are seeing there now, that paw is what I normally track on the ground. You can see that paw looks very, very beautiful. So on the ground as well, they look very beautiful, and you can see that you cannot even see their claws, because they always take them back and they only bring them out when they want to use them. So the lions are very much powerful. Their front legs, when they are fighting for food, is very interesting because they clap each other sometimes. Look at that. That is quite a very big footprint. It's a big paw. So a lot of people, they've got a confusion between this kind of paws with the Hynatrex. So the Hynatrex, it doesn't have 3 lobes. There now we can clearly see the 3 lobes. So the hyena is just 2. And the hyenas, you'll see, they always bring out the claws. You'll see those kind of nails showing there. So most of the time, Walo Wanderer, I have got about 11. Let me just confirm again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I have got about 11 lions resting here at the moment. Look, one of them is showing some activities there. It's just licking. It's just licking itself. Not too sure if it's trying to get the saliva in order to clean the face, or trying to get maybe some of the thorns out, or just cleaning their legs, because normally they use these legs when they're dragging things, they touch blood, and they must have to clean them so that they don't smell bad. If they don't clean them, the prey as well can be able to pick them up from a long distance, because that can become a very distinctive smell. These animals, lions, don't only feed on fresh prey. Sometimes they eat carrions, and these carrions don't smell nice. If they don't clean themselves, that can send a huge message about their presence in the area. That one is sleeping very nicely, with a head tilted facing up a little bit. Carol, this is quite a very big distance. I think it's approximately 3.5 to 4 kilometers away from where Hosanna is. So they're not going to interact, but when the temperature is fine, they might wake up and move. Not sure if they will move towards the direction of Hosanna or the opposite direction. You can see now they're stretching. I can see now the sun is hidden a little bit by the clouds. So apart from these lions, there is another interesting sighting. Jenny has got some hyenas.
There's another interesting animal disappearing behind a termite mound. But that's okay, that happens, and you're going to see plenty of them. There we go. One hyena making her way back to the den. Number 2 that we've spotted is across the lugger, or the drainage line over there. Looking a little bit like she might be suckling a cub, I think. I think I see a cub, either that or she's got one very clean foot. And this is where they all came out of last night, after the end of the sunset safari, who had all left us, and they all popped out of here. So I think that's where they spend the day for now. I'm just going to follow this female, see who it is, because I'm sure she's going to collect a cub. So, I don't know if you've ever played that game, I'm sure you have, or you know of it, where a ball goes under a cup, and there's 3 cups, and they get switched around, and you have to try and keep track of which cup is hiding the ball. So you must try doing that with 25 hyenas trying to keep track of one. So last night I thought, okay, three, let's be fair. Last night I thought I'd keep track of Waffles' descendants. So we had Hershey, we had Soup, and we had Ferg. And just for new viewers, this is all complete gibberish. Waffles is the head of the North clan of spotted hyenas. So they all belong to one big group, one big clan. She's the head, and she's got 2 sons and 1 granddaughter. And 2 great-granddaughters, but they don't feature much at the moment. So imagine that they're all milling around, not doing anything spectacular, but doing hyena things. Yipping and fighting and greetings and all those sorts of things. And you can imagine what it's like trying to keep track at night of 3 particular individuals. And my biggest problem is, for new viewers, every hyena has a unique spot pattern, and I've been trying to learn these guys. But the issue with this is that I actually know Ferg's one side better than I do the other, so I was getting really confused. Where's your baby? I think this is Jude. Jude looks a lot like Sour, but without the ear missing, which would mean that she's looking for her son Zimu. Okay, she's going to go and call the cubs out of the den. Let's go across to James. It seems as though the leopards have well and truly shown up for TV.
Well, we've got very lucky. In fact, we haven't got lucky. Let's just quickly show you the reason we have this amazing sighting. Naturally enough, it was the great Herbert Causa and Arab on the right and the left-hand side, then Solly on the right, that managed to produce this magnificent sighting for us. So it's really wonderful that they've achieved this. And they'll go off and hopefully find yet another leopard for us. So that's Tundi, the queen, 12 years old, leopardess. She's killed a young male impala, just about finished it already, so they've basically had, I suppose, almost 24 hours probably on this kill. And with any luck, we'll get a view of Tundi, at least Tlalamba, the little one as well. Apparently she's on a termite mound not far from here. There's also a nasty misi around. The cubs behind that termite mound somewhere there, and then there's a hyena over there. So that's very exciting indeed. Isn't that nice? So, things looking up for our TV show. What we really hope is that these two cats are far too full to move anywhere this evening, that they stay in this tree or in its environs until we have our TV show tomorrow. Of course, if you're wondering, what is this man talking about, TV show? That's astounding. Well, TV show, I mean 11 p.m. Eastern Time, Nat Geo Wild, US, at, well, it'll be 5 o'clock in the morning this time, 11 p.m. out in the States. And, of course, if you're watching on this platform, you can just watch on this platform tomorrow as well. So, very special here. She does look gorgeous. She's perfectly positioned to catch the afternoon light. I think we're in for a very pleasant afternoon indeed. And I think that she must have killed this thing very soon after Steve had her yesterday. Because that is not it doesn't look that fresh. I'm just going to ask Rex here. I mean, Rex is sitting next to us in another vehicle. I'll ask him how old he thinks that is, but it's possible she killed it the day before. I was just doing a little bit of a patrol before, you know, when Steve found her yesterday. And it's quite possible that actually this kill's been here for, say, 2 days. There's just not a huge amount left, and I know it's a bit gruesome. I apologize to those of you who have stomachs that are not made of particularly firm material. I don't blame you at all. But there it is. Ivy, no, not really. I mean, lions might eat a hyena if they were particularly desperate. But no, nobody would really see them as prey. Except, I suppose, leopards would take little hyenas, hyena cubs. They might try and catch a leopard cub. At least a hyena cub, and eat a hyena cub. But a large hyena like that I have seen killed by lions, and they're left uneaten. It's not impossible, of course, that hyenas will engage in cannibalism. We are queen. Look at it layerin. Tolo. Yeah. But I layang kusungula. Just asking Rex when he thinks that it was killed. He says probably last night. I'm just going to... Are you happy with this picture, Senzo? Or shall we move very slightly that way? Yeah? Move a little bit? We're just going to try and move slightly so that we can not have any bush in the way of our beautiful kitty. And then we will go and have a look at the cub. Let's just let her settle for a while, because that is the most magical picture. Alrighty, let's go across to David and his lions. Oh, those lions. Sorry, I was confusing Sydney for David for a second there. Let's go across to the Mara to David and his lions. Bye-bye.
Everyone and everybody, you might be wondering where I have been. But I've been about, and this is what I've been looking for you. And this is some beautiful lioness lying on a termite mound in the savannah, in the Maasai Mara Triangle. And how beautiful that is. Lovely to see that lady there. My name is always David, and filming with me today is James. Hello, James. Very good. We have been using a set of two sets of eyes to try and locate this female lioness here, which forms part of the Sausage Pride. Isn't that wonderful, James? We've done well. James is a very tall chap, much taller than James Henry in South Africa, but for the last 1 hour he was standing on top of the roof. But finally we won, and there we are with that beautiful female, and just next to that female is the main male in this area, excuse me, that we call Kipuli. And unless you look very carefully, he's just laying down to where that lady is looking. And they have been mating for the last 2 days. And we're going to camp here and see whether they might have a chance to see that. And then not very far from where she is, there's another younger male that we call blonde, smaller man than the actual male Kipuli. Safari Saul, you're asking what do I think could be the strongest sense of the lion? I would say for me, I would just guess. It depends on what you're looking at and what maybe the lion would be looking at. But for me, I would say sight. Because they've been known to do, to me, more hunting at night than during the day. But of course that varies depending on a number of factors: availability of prey, the kind of vegetation they find themselves in, or the size of the pride, or the size of the coalition. But I would say, with my own thinking, sight is the strongest sense. Sight is the strongest sense. And we've seen them hunting, to me, hunting more at night than during the day. For example, when you see her looking like that, my guess is she's where she is for two reasons. Number one, there's a bit of warmth on that termite mound, and I'm imagining there are millions or thousands of termites in that mound, and she is absorbing the heat from there. But also, it gives her some good advantage to watch around like 360 degrees. Should she spot, say, a prey, a wildebeest or a zebra at the moment, maybe later tonight they'll make a plan. And I have seen out of 10 times lions being more successful in darkness than during the day. So I would comfortably say the sense of sight is much stronger than any of the other senses. And how beautiful to see a female lioness in the savannah. This is what we call the savannah. I do not know how many of you know what Maasai Mara means. Maasai is a very famous tribe in Kenya, and Mara means spots. So if you're above the savannah, you might see one bush here, a termite mound there, or a tree there, or a little bush there. So those spots from the air are called spots. But now we'll move. Ooh, what a good yawn. Well done, lioness. We'll move from one cat to another cat in South Africa.
Well, it's a cat extravaganza today. I don't think we've had a... It's been a long time since we've had 2 lions and 2 leopard sightings with 4 different presenters. It's pretty spectacular this afternoon. Things have gotten exactly according to plan. Is the way it has panned out. We thought we would be struggling to find Tandi, and Hosana didn't look like he was here, and well, the Nkuhumas have made a surprise entry into Djuma as well. So lots has happened this afternoon already. It's been pretty good, and hopefully will continue to be good through the afternoon. Now we just need Jamie to find herself the North Clan, and well, I think we would be sitting pretty in terms of all of our characters this afternoon, and everybody will be very happy because they'll all be with their favourite animals. James will be with Tundi, and he has a soft spot for her. We have obviously Sana, who everybody's got a soft spot for, and Sydney loves lions, so he's happy, and David, well, David I think is just happy he's in the Mara showing all of you. Right, now it sounds like David's lions are actually busy doing something, so let's quickly send you across to them.
Well, this is what we have been waiting for, and I just spoke about it a few seconds ago, and we just witnessed some mating there. It's always pretty quick, it's pretty fast, and that's the famous Kipuli. That's the big boy around this area. I'll call him king of the jungle if you look on the cats of that size, and we just saw them mating. Well done, James, for just documenting that on time. And we are not going to leave this area. Depending, of course, on the age of the lions, some of them have been known to mate like 72 times in a day, and if they're just beginning, it's always so full of energy. And they say it's rather difficult for the females to conceive, and that's why they'll need to keep mating as many times as possible. 72 times by any standard is a lot of mating, and she just went back to where she was, on top of the mound. And it's so interesting when it comes to the lioness. So once she's ready, the male automatically has to be ready. What kind of chemical understanding or formula they have when they go mating? So the male goes flat. If you look carefully to the right of your screen, James, if you ponder a bit, ooh, another yawn there. See, yes, it's, from a distance you can see a bit of dark spot there to the right where that female lioness is looking. That's where the male is laying down. And again, when the female will be ready, yes, now you got it, James, well done. She will just walk to her and do a bit of courting and just excite him a little bit, and they'll be back to mating again. So Kipuli, back to bed. We can still see you, your beautiful black mane. Don't think you're hiding. And we'll be waiting here to see whether we are lucky to get to witness another chance of you mating with this one beautiful lady. Wow, what a sighting it was to see these predators doing that. And we got some other beautiful girl who got some other predators somewhere.
Our hyenas are up and about, and I think they might even be coming to say hello. Oh no, Manu, I haven't put Cubcam up and running, and they're coming up. Where does all the connections go? Oh no, panic, panic. I can't find the... Oh wait, yes I can. Never mind, crisis averted. It's a little bit dusty, but we'll make a plan. Hey guys! There's little Sloth Bear, looking almost indistinguishable from the rest of the clan. Ah, CJ, that's the amazing thing about hyenas, is that they have the most impenetrable digestive tract out of any animal. So they don't get food poisoning from the food that they eat. They can eat practically anything and be absolutely fine. They regularly throw up, but that's largely because they've swallowed something a little bit too big to digest or too much fur, and they vomited up. But otherwise they don't actually get any kind of gastroenteritis or any kind of infection or food poisoning. Hello. From what they eat. They're actually quite resistant to most diseases. Yes, Sloth Bear, I'm talking about you. Now don't panic, you silly boy. Sorry, they've come right up to the vehicle. So last night, he was all alone with Tip, about 1.5 kilometers from the den, and I have absolutely no idea why. 2 cubs, all on their own, miles from the den, or a mile from the den. Let's be more realistic. It's very odd. But no, hyenas don't get sick from what they eat. They have the most extraordinary immune systems, which is why Mr. Leo Smith has sometimes been referred to as a hyena in terms of what his stomach can handle. While the rest of us all found ourselves ill at one point or another in the Mara, he managed to rally and carry on as normal. Hi. Oh dear, how do I make this work? Why can't I make it work? I know. Oh, I hadn't turned it on. Technology. That's why I sit in the front of the car and drive it. I'm not allowed near any of these things. What was I going to say? Oh, James talking about other predators going for hyenas. The main cause of death for hyenas, adult hyenas, is male lions. Male lions, if they can catch them, they will absolutely unequivocally kill them. So there's no question about that. They can and they do kill spotted hyenas relatively regularly. Okie dokie. Well, I think our lions are, our hyenas, oh goodness, it's all going to pot. I think our hyenas are going to sleep on the other side of the continent. The opposite is happening with young Hosanna.
Well, yes, the Hosanna seems to have woken up, and that's because he's just ejected some things that he didn't like inside of his stomach. So he's been eating grass most of the afternoon, which has meant that it's made him get a little sick. So he had a little bit of a vomit and got rid of everything, and now he's decided he's going to move. But look at how his tail is twitching, how his head is down. He's just watching what's going on. I wonder if there isn't something that's coming towards the pan, and he's just trying to position himself slightly better to be able to see what's coming. I can hear a few oxpeckers that are calling, so maybe those impalas are still fairly close by, and that's why he's just trying to work out a place that he can sit, that potentially the impalas might not be able to see him, that he can then hunt from. He definitely is going to be hunting here all afternoon and into the night. I think he's going to try until he gets it right, which bodes well for us. It means that maybe, just maybe, we're going to get very lucky this afternoon, and maybe we'll see him actually execute a hunt very well and find food that he needs. But you see now he's realized something's coming, so he's going to try and position himself back in that grass thicket in order to just camouflage a little bit better. He's going to sit where he thinks he can be able to get very, very close, and where he's able to then pounce and grab whatever he can. Amazing, though. We've been so fortunate to be able to spend time with him the way that we have. And look at how amazing he's looking. His shoulders are starting to get quite broad. He's getting that thicker neck, little dewlap forming. He's looking as good as we could ever have expected. And it's amazing when you think a year ago, this time a year ago, or maybe a little bit earlier, maybe a little bit over a year, we were worried about whether or not Hosanna would make it as a adolescent young male who's been left early by his mom. Would he be able to find the food that he needs? And well, as it's turned out, he's done more than thrive. He's taken to adult life pretty well, and his ability to hunt is very good. He seems to be able to find food regularly, and his ability to somehow charm the pants of every other leopard he comes across has stood him in good stead as well for his journey into a sub-adult nomadic male. And we call him nomadic because he doesn't really have a territory. I suppose he's still in his natal territory at the moment, but it'll be interesting to see how long he's accepted here and whether or not he stays. I really do hope that in some way there's a part of me that just wants him to eke out a little existence here and to be the dominant individual on Djuma and be able to then take over from Tingana when he leaves. It'll be amazing if it is the case. It'll be really, really good if we get Hosanna as our dominant male leopard going forward in life. I think so anyway. I'm sure many of you would agree. You can see ears are still working. Still just listening. He's got these telltale little nicks in his ear, so the little right V on the right ear and the bottom right, and then he's got that little one on the left ear. So if you ever see the back of his head, those are two telltale little markings that you can use. Right, now while I sit with Hosanna and we watch and see whether or not something comes down to drink that he can potentially prey on, let's send you back across to James and his beautiful older sister.
Yes, the old sister, grumpy old sister, dear, sweet, well, not so sweet, Tundi the Queen. There she lies, with her slightly scowling face in the top of a tree. Very nice to have her there, and a great relief, of course, to all of us to know exactly where she is. Now, we will, at some stage, go and find Tlalamba and have a look at her, Tlalamba, 9 months old. But for the moment, this is just the most quintessentially gorgeous African leopard shot, isn't it? No, Jen, they don't. Well, certainly not that I've seen, unless they've combined their meal with a bottle or two of rather good Shiraz. They don't fall out of their trees, no. You'd find that they'd wake up immediately. She is sleeping, but she's not going into a deep sleep. You'll notice every so often her eyes will just open and look around, but she's more dozing than sleeping. And as soon as she felt herself overbalancing, she'd immediately wake up. So no, I've never seen them fall out of trees, and like I say, unless they've imbibed some rather good left bank blend, they should be okay up top in the trees. You'll hear the game drive radio is deeply exciting. You're all deeply excited to come in here. And so we'll spend a bit of time here. I'm hoping we'll have maybe half an hour or so, and then we might have to move out. Sorry, Teresa, I missed your comment. The game drive radio was speaking an unconscionable amount of nonsense in my ear. Oh, you'd love to see a leopard carry a kill up a tree. It's very impressive to see it happen, especially a kill like that. That kill's probably the same weight as her. She probably sits between 35 and 40 kilograms or so, about 90 pounds, and it's about the same as that impala would have weighed before its untimely demise yesterday sometime. And it's really impressive to see a cat of that size take something its own weight up there. I doubt, however, that she took it up there while it was whole. I think you'll probably find that she and Tlalamba fed on it on the ground for a while, and then once it was a bit lighter, and possibly as darkness fell yesterday, as she heard the hyenas whooping around her, she probably took it up there and stashed it safely. They'd rather eat on the ground because it's obviously much easier than trying to eat where they are up there. It's awkward trying to eat in a tree. I mean, despite the fact that they have the most amazing balance, it's still quite awkward to try and gnaw and pull bits off the carcass without dropping it on the floor. They become very expert at not dropping them. She looks pregnant again. Of course she isn't. She's just extremely fat. Alrighty, let's leave sleeping Tandi and go across to sleeping Nkuhumas.
The Nkuhumas are still enjoying their sleep. Lions, when it comes to this time of the day, is when they enjoy a lot of their fellowship. When sleeping like this, you will see them. I've been seeing it a lot since I've been here. They have been rubbing each other and they've been licking each other. And that is very much important in order to solidify their relationship here in the pride. Look at that. Looks very tired, completely flat, eyes closed. But if you look there, it seems like there's another eye open after the normal eye. You see, lions have got false eyes there, just to confuse something maybe. Rust cider, yes, the lions, they are one of those animals which can only bring the claws out when they want to use them, and after that they must have to bring back them again. So that's why on their tracks you will never see the nails. You can, that is determined by what they're doing. When they're running, sometimes they bring them out so that it can help them to grab the ground. For gripping, they can use them. But normally they hide them. So here in Africa, different animals symbolize different things. In my tribe, in Venda tribe, if you dream about an animal, different animals, they express different meanings. So if you dream about two lions fighting, it's a sign of danger. The interpretation of that dream is that there is a danger coming towards your way. You're going to have to be very careful. So, but if you just dream lions doing nothing, then it's a sign for the elevation of a success in one's walking of life. So the older people is the ones who are able to translate and interpret this kind of dreams. So while I'm still waiting for anything to happen here, let's see. James, he's lucky. He found Kalamba.
Yes, we have found Kalamba. She is, of course, not very far from where her mother is, just on a little termite mound the other side, resting very comfortably, despite the fact, of course, that there are hyenas around. I think that's why she's looking a little bit nervy. I think she looks quite like her brother Tamba. She's got that same very serious look about her. Don't you, my dear? Not amused. Now, we're often asked about whether these cats maintain pink noses for their whole lives, or if they sometimes get darker as they get older. Of course, the answer for lions is yes, they definitely do get darker. But if you look at her nose, it's quite black. And if you compare that with Hosana's nose, which is almost entirely pink, you can see that it's quite a nice distinguishing marker, and some of them really don't change at all in the leopards. It's not like that with the lions. They almost always change. But the leopards do not. Oh, now Hosana seems to be on his way to getting some dinner.
Well, he is. So two male impalas are slowly making their way towards us, and Hosana has positioned himself a little bit closer. You can see the spots, and there the male impala's there. He is very, very keen to try and hunt these guys, and it's going to be interesting to see how this goes. Just now he walked right up against the car, and I thought for a second he was actually going to use the car as a way to block himself, because he came right to our tire and sat there for a few seconds and then just slinked around underneath this front side of the car and then found himself this little bush. But I was hoping that these impalas would come a little bit closer towards the water. It seems as though they've just peeled off slightly and moved away. I wonder if they're not going to move round and then come down towards the water point from a more northerly side of the dam itself. But poor Hosana, he keeps kind of sitting and hoping that these impalas will come a little bit closer, and he gets himself into good positions. But unfortunately, with a bit of the wind that's swirling as well, and the way that the impalas are walking, it makes it a bit difficult. But there are more impalas coming. There's a whole herd that's on its way just to the left of him, so you can just see them over there. There they are. They're slowly but surely moving in this general vicinity. And now watch Hosana. He's going to try and slink his way. Watch this crawl. Look at that. Isn't that incredible? You see how he's down, and he's going to get himself right into a bush. Now, the impalas are looking in this direction, so I think they saw some movement, but they weren't sure. But look at him crawling through that bush. This is amazing. Now, the impalas are going to be interesting to see how they actually move here. I was saying earlier, this is where I thought he would be in a good place in order to be able to hunt and to be able to stalk, and this is a great place for him to sit. But the problem with it is that he has to kind of get into a very difficult position where the impalas are going to try and walk kind of towards the water, and the distance between him and the impalas is quite far. It's not a very close distance, so what he's got to hope for is that these impalas just slowly but surely move along the road. If they come along the road, Hosana's got a great opportunity, particularly if they go along the road and they go towards the water and they all put their heads down to drink, then he can explode in and maybe grab himself something. So we're in for a really interesting time here. I just want to see which way these impalas actually move and which way they go. At this stage, they are walking in the right direction, and driven by thirst, they will come towards water. We were saying it earlier that it's a matter of time until animals come this afternoon. This is how it works. Because of how dry it is at the moment, you can't really go anywhere else. They don't have huge amounts of options when it comes to water, and so this pan is somewhere that they've got to come to, even if they think there's danger here. There's this game that is being played amongst predator and prey in the winter months, and it's why a lot of people will like to come on safari in winter, because of how this density of animals starts to happen around water points. You see them moving about, kind of coming towards water, and obviously the predator know that, and they will stick around, and so it becomes a lot easier to find animals when you've got drier conditions, because water becomes so invaluable. But you can see, look at how Hassan has just positioned himself. That camouflage is amazing. If he just sits still and is patient, the impalas will eventually come. It's going to take a bit of time, and they're going to be wary. They're not going to want to just run in here and have a little look and drink straight away. They're not like a cat that will just amble up to water and drink and not really worry. These guys will walk, they'll stop, they'll look, they'll listen, they'll try and figure out what's going on before they drink. They're not going to want to just put their heads down in case there is a lurking predator like this. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out. But the impalas are ever so slowly edging their way forward, led by the females. I think if everybody just sits dead still and is quiet, we might get lucky. Now, what we also might want here, which might be an interesting situation, is if the males start to rut and start to chase each other around. They sometimes chase each other indiscriminately and chase females indiscriminately and into random directions, and that might be Hassan's biggest asset here, is if one chases a female straight towards him, you never know what could happen. Or if the males start to fight and don't pay attention, then you'll sometimes get, there we go, you see, just like that, where they just charge in. That separates everybody and scatters everybody, and sometimes what that does is it causes these impalas to shift straight towards Hassan. And now I see that those are actually a few young males there as well. I wonder which one he'll target in all of this. It would be interesting for me to know whether he goes after young individuals or if he's going to try and go after the females. I think for him it would probably be easier to wrangle with a younger individual than it is going to be to go after the big males. The big males, it's going to be difficult for him to hoist or to drag, but he's in prime position. And this time of the day, if he wants to make a kill, now's the time of day where he needs to do it, because he's not going to have to worry about hyenas. If this impala bleats, he's not going to have to really worry too much about other leopards unless Tingana is close by. We know he was calling this morning, but we haven't found him as yet. And so if Tingana is close by and hears it, he might come steal it. But otherwise, he'll have enough time to get it to a tree, try and hoist it, and get it out of the reaches of all of these other predators. But look how close they're getting. Monique, the impalas are looking his way. The impalas know something is not right here. They're just unsure of where it is, and so they're looking at us. They're looking at the other vehicles that are around. There's, well, one other vehicle at the moment, and they're just trying to generally scan around. I don't think they've actually seen him at all, but I think what we need to do is to maybe just take this onto all of our other platforms so that we can show everybody, because the impalas are getting very, very close now. So Megs, if we can do that, it would be appreciated. Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to South Africa with a situation that is about to get very, very interesting. My name is Tristan. On camera, I've got David, and there is a male leopard that is sitting right in a thicket at the moment, and there's a whole bunch of impalas that are coming down to drink. And so these impalas have no idea that this leopard is here. He's busy stalking. He's spent the whole day in this section hoping that the impalas would come down to drink, and then he can make use of that and be able to hunt them. So what he's doing is he's sitting right where he can camouflage. You can see his spots are really helping to break up his outline and make it very difficult for the prey animals to see him. And because it's so dry at the moment, this is really the only water point for quite a long way. And so he's hoping that these impalas are going to slowly shift through, particularly through this thicket area, and if one gets in striking range, he's going to burst out and try and go for it. And this is how leopards hunt. They're ambush predators, and they love to be able to sit in a thicket like this and wait for things to come to them. And this is the perfect place for this leopard to be able to execute this. Now, it's interesting because this male leopard has been here for 2 weeks. He's been sitting in this area or around this area, and he's been hunting all over this section, and he's been very successful. He's already killed 3 different duikers and an impala from this pan area, and so he's got the technique down, and so what he does is he just waits. He's a patient cat, and as soon as anything comes, then he'll strike. And he's got impalas all around him now. So there's impalas to his right, to his front, and also down towards his left-hand side. So he's basically being surrounded by the impalas, and what he's hoping is that there's going to be one impala that's going to be silly enough to walk close enough that he can then launch out with this speed and grab them. But you can see they're all around him at the moment, so he's waiting for them just to get a little bit closer. We've got impalas that are probably, I would say, from him maybe about 25 meters. He needs them to be probably within 5 to 10 meters, so they've really got to come a lot closer before he will try and strike out. But he's in a perfect place to be able to hunt these guys. The impalas are a bit aware of something is not right because there's a bit of a breeze blowing, and because he's spent so much time here, there has been a lot of scent that has been laid down, and therefore it's been very difficult for the impalas to get you, and so they can smell that there's something not right. Now, Adrian, you say Hosana is such a legend. He is a legend. He's an incredible cat, and he's really spoilt us over the last few weeks. We've been so glad to have him back. He went away for a brief hiatus into another area, and he's now come back into this section, and it's been such a pleasure to have him back. And Adrian, that reminds me that we are interactive, so all of you that would like to ask questions or have any comments, you can post them in the comment section below, and we'll try and answer as many as possible. It's always nice to hear from all of you, even if you just tell us hello from where you're watching, and to know where everybody is around the world. But this is amazing. To be sitting here and to be bringing this to you guys live is absolutely incredible. It's not every day that you'll be able to watch leopards hunt. They generally are very shy, elusive animals, and they like to hunt more in the darker periods of the day, so around sunset, sunrise, into the evenings. And so this is amazing. Carrie, the wind is blustery. It's kind of up and down a little bit. It's blowing from the left-hand side of Hosana and the impalas to our right. So you can see there's a little bit of a breeze flittering about there, but it's kind of coming at an angle across the impalas' faces from their right-hand side to their left, from our left to our right, in terms of if we are in the same position as Hosana. So it's kind of angling across in front of him, but these impalas really are starting to get very close. The lead grouping that is coming along, if they come to feed off the next little bit of vegetation, they're going to be in striking range, and this is so exciting. Look at that. You can see the leopard perfectly positioned for these impalas that are coming along. I wonder how close he's going to wait until they get here. So Robin, this leopard is just over 2 years old now. So he was born 2 years ago in February, and means that he's about 2.5, I suppose. He's getting a little bit older. It's amazing how time flies. So he's still a young leopard, but he was left quite early by his mother. Unfortunately, his mother disappeared, and he was orphaned very young, and so he had to learn how to hunt from a very young age, and that's meant that he's got taken to it very quickly, and he's an exquisitely good hunter. He really goes after prey very well, and he's proven that in this week alone. We know of 2 different duikers that he's killed from this pan, and there's a multitude of other things that he's chased, and we don't know if he's catching even scrub hares. He might have been catching a few scrub hares as well over the course of the last few days. But these impalas are so close. Look at that. It's as close as you're ever going to think about it. Now the wind is shifting slightly now. It's now coming from behind my back, which is not ideal. So you see the impalas are a bit skittish now. The wind has shifted, and it's now blowing towards those impalas from where he's sitting, which is not ideal for him. Oh, it's just come at the wrong time, that wind, and that's why everybody's a little bit skittish now. They know that there's something not quite right here. Now, Meg, sorry, if you can repeat that question. So, Nina, leopards will single out a single individual that they're looking for. Hosana is interesting because the way he hunts is slightly different. I've seen him hunt a few times where he just runs in and he kind of almost panics everybody and hopes that one sort of launches towards him. Because often when a predator runs into a herd like this, everybody just bombshells, and sometimes some will make the fatal error of actually running towards the predator, and then they grab them. So he'll single out an individual and hope that he's going to go after that one. But if obviously another one runs towards him, he's not going to say no and not grab it. But this is incredible. I can't believe how close they're getting. They just need to come a little bit further, and then he's going to be really in striking range. I wonder if he's going to wait for most of the herd to come past so that their backs are to him before he goes. Jerry, leopard is territorial. Yes, this young male yet because he's a little bit too young. Now look at this impala on the right. This impala on the right has spotted something. It knows there's something not right. Look at how alert it is. Ears are moving. Nose is going. It's flaring, trying to get that scent, trying to work out what's going on. But leopards are territorial. This leopard just needs to eke out a territory a little bit later in life. He's still a bit too young to challenge the dominant big males that we get in this area. So he's only 2.5, and normally a male leopard will take a territory between 5 and 7 years, and then is dominant as much as 12, 13, 14 years. So he's got a long way to go still before he'll be able to really battle it out for territory. Luckily for him, though, where he's come into, his father, or who we think is his father, Tingana, is the dominant male here, and for some reason doesn't see Hosana as a threat at the moment and allows him to stay here. In fact, we've seen Hosana and Tingana this week a few times, even sharing a kill together. So he's still allowed in the area by his dad, but that will change as he gets more dominant and his testosterone comes out. You're going to find that he's going to get more of a threat to his dad, and his dad will then see that, and when mating rights come, he's going to try and push this little son away. But by then, who knows, maybe Hosana is big enough to challenge, as his dad is starting to get quite old now. His dad is approaching, well, it's over 12 years old, and that's normally the end of a male's tenure as a dominant individual. Now look at this impala. It's definitely snorting. It's shouting at him at the moment, and I think it sees that there's something there, but is not sure. Look, see, now watch, it might snort again. I think it just knows there's something, but it's not quite sure where. What we need is actually, see, it's just making a little snort sound. What we actually need is those two that are just to the left of that one that's snorting are actually play fighting a little bit every now and then. They're dropping their horns and kind of pushing up against each other. That's what we want. We want that kind of gamesmanship to happen, because when they do that, they're distracted, and that allows Hosana to be able to watch what's going on and then fly out and grab one of those. So it's one of those two. If they play fight, you see, like that, they drop their heads, they're busy clattering their horns, they make a bit of noise, then they're not watching what's going on. But this impala on the right is the one that has spotted him so far. So let's see. This is amazing. John, most definitely other predators could ruin his hunt. If lions came in here, he's going to run because he's going to be very scared of lions. Then if there's hyenas, they will come in and they will chase him and try and see if he's got any food, and that will cause him to also run away. And obviously bigger male leopard like his dad, if he had to catch one of these, would then come in and chase him off. But if they walked through, then you'd find all these impalas would spot that other predator moving to this area. It's quite open around this thicket, and then they would start to shout, and that would ruin the hunt completely, unless of course they ran from that predator and ran straight at him. But then if he grabbed it, he would in all likelihood lose that carcass. But absolutely incredible. So Losif, it's difficult to measure how much he can eat in a day because it depends on what he's eaten before. So the leopard doesn't feed every single day. It's obviously difficult out here to catch animals. Prey animals, if they were easy to catch, there wouldn't be very many of them around. And so they have incredible senses. They can smell, they can hear, they can, they've got great eyesight. And so that makes it quite tough for a predator to actually grab them. And what that means is that leopards on average probably only feed every 3-4 days. And so if they're really, really hungry, then you're going to find that they're going to basically eat a lot more than if they, let's say, had eaten yesterday and caught something today again. They're not going to eat nearly as much. But there you go. You see, now they're starting to pick up. That wind has just changed completely, and it's really not gone in Hosana's favor here at all. I don't think they know where he is. They just can smell him at the moment, which is not ideal. But generally they could eat, probably a big male leopard would be eating 20 kilograms to 40 pounds in a day if he really wanted to. I mean, it's a lot, but he would be very, very full and probably then not have to feed for a couple of days after that. What we find with these guys is that generally if they say, let's say, caught one of these impalas, if it was that big male impala, the one that you see with the big horns there, that would probably last this male leopard, if no other leopards arrived and fed off the carcass or any other predator, it would probably last him about 3 days in total to feed off that. And that male impala probably weighs close to about 80 to 90 kilograms, so which is what, almost 200 pounds. So he'll get through that in about 3 days, but he would be an absolute barrel by the end of that. He'd be very, very full. Now, unfortunately, it seems like these impalas are slowly starting to move off a little bit. There are still some that are fairly close, just in the thicket behind where Hosanna is, and they're still in shot and in range for him, but I don't know, with this wind swirling the way it is, it's definitely making things for him a lot harder. Right, I think we're going to sit and be patient. If anything does happen, we'll certainly bring this live again. But in the meantime, let's see how this plays out. It's been great to have you all with us. Hopefully you will join us again. And like I say, if anything does happen, we'll be going live once again. Right, well, unfortunately for Hosanna, this wind is really not doing any favors for him. So while we see if the wind settles down and these impalas grow the nerve to come closer, let's send you back to James with Thandi and Tlalamba.
There are Thandi and Tlalamba, and they, well, that's actually just Tlalamba sitting on a termite mound. And there is her mummy sitting on a tree above her. Hello, mummy. There you are. There she is. Sleepy, sleepy queen. And sleepy princess. Bored princess. Princess probably in need of a sibling. I think that she and Hosanna should spend a bit more time together. Hosanna, of course, loves to play. She likes to play. I think her face looks pretty bored, really. Look at her, it's very ho-hum. She says, another termite mound, another day, another rotting carcass. I think I'll just have a bit of a sleep. She's very sleepy as well. I think she's had a good proportion of that impala that is currently sitting in the tree. So we're not going to be here for much longer. We've probably got about 10 minutes or so. So let's enjoy while we can. Obviously there are a lot of people who want to come in and see Thandi and Tlalamba. And so we will have to move out at some stage. Hosanna, it is my firm opinion that there is no chance that Hosanna will smell this kill. It is roughly, say, 5 kilometers roughly as the crow flies, maybe not quite, 4 kilometers as the crow flies from where Hosanna is, and the wind is blowing in the opposite direction, so it's not blowing towards Hosanna, it's blowing from Hosanna towards, well, where it's sort of blowing across the way. It's not blowing towards him, so no, I don't think at this distance he'd smell it. If it was blowing straight towards him and that carcass had been there a day or two, yeah, I think he would pick it up. But it's a long way away yet, almost 3 miles, which is quite far for a leopard to smell. Leopards, of course, can smell extremely well, almost as well as hyenas. There are 2 hyenas around here today, but they're in such thick grass we can't show them to you, I'm afraid. And I don't want to disturb them by getting too close, because there are 2 of them here. And the little one is showing absolutely zero concern whatsoever for the presence of the scavenging hyenas. So she's obviously learned how to deal with them. I don't think she's being cavalier at all. I think she's just aware of how to get away with them, from them quickly. She's a very pretty little girl, but like I say, she's very serious looking, like her brother Tamba was, or is. Oh, Margarita, I don't think it's easy to answer that question. I have read statistics on this. If I'm not mistaken, a hyena can smell about 40 times as sensitively as a human being can. So, you know, I mean, that's astonishing. You can imagine what walking down a street in downtown New York or Mumbai or Bourbon Street in New Orleans, for example, would smell like if you had the sense of smell that a hyena does. But they don't respond to smell in the same way. So, you know, I mean, the reason that cities smell poisonous to us or smell disgusting to us is because, you know, a lot of the substances that make those smells are poisonous to our health. But that's not the case, of course, with a hyena smelling a carcass. And they use that smell extensively to find food. Also, they use that smell extensively to interpret signs from each other. And we, of course, I think one of the major reasons that we've lost our sense of smell, or the sensitivity of our sense of smell, is that we don't use it anymore so much to interpret signs from potential mates or friends. We certainly do. We do it almost completely unconsciously, but we don't use it as much as animals do. It's quite interesting, actually. I mean, I've said this to you before, but we haven't had a smell discussion for a while. But human beings they're more sensitive than they think in the nose. And sometimes people, for example, potential girlfriends, boyfriends, husbands, wives, just won't smell quite right. They don't smell bad, but they just don't smell quite right. And it has various complicated reasons for why that's the case. And, well, you should listen to your nose, because it could have effects on the disease-resisting ability of your offspring, believe it or not. All right, we're going to probably have to leave the sighting now, everybody. So say goodbye to Tlalamba for now. We'll try and come back here tomorrow morning, maybe later this evening as well. Let's go across to Sydney now with his lions.
Things are starting to happen now. I can see that now they're starting to stretch. One of them you can see is also stretching now, opening his mouth. The temperature is cooling down. The activities might take place now. Look at that one doing a little bit of training. You can see that it seems like he is interested on exercise. This is a very interesting posture. I never saw a lion relaxed like this before. So I can see they are all trying to reposition now, and they are all starting to lick each other and to lick themselves. So you can see now it's not like before. They are getting activated now. Normally they do this kind of rubbing and licking just before the sunset, when they are preparing to wake up and move around. So when they're starting to do this, I am very confident enough that they might now start displaying some other activities. Maybe it's now that we are going to read the internal mood of the whole pride. Humor, that is very much true. These cats, when they're lying, they lie down flat. It's very much difficult to see that this is actually a very big cat. Look at that head. This animal can be able to weigh up to 190 kilograms. That is quite a lot. Lions, they are very big cats. Look at that. When it's lying down flat, you can't even guess the amount of weight this animal is having, because it looks very much small. It's just lions everywhere. 11, quite a lot. Look at that one standing. Can you see that the lions, they are very big cats? Look at that. When they're lying down, you cannot see that these are actually quite very big cats. Rosalind, the lions can eat quite a lot a day. They can eat over 40 kilograms. Look at that. Now things are happening. They're starting to move around. So they can eat quite a lot of meat a day, but that is determined by the size of the prey. Not always they catch something big. Sometimes they catch something small, whereby they are not going to get in. Now look at that. What these animals are doing now, it helps in order to maintain their relationship in the family. Look at that. This is how they greet, and this is how they appreciate each other. You can see that this lion deliberately came to that one just to come and play. Look at that. You can see they're all now grooming each other. It's like you scratch my back, I scratch yours. Look at that. Sometimes these animals, they end up using this kind of grooming as a reciprocal grooming. So they do it hoping to get it back. Oh, this is amazing. You can see that they're even licking and cleaning the mouth. So now let's see the hyena, the one who eats the lion's remains. Jenny has got some hyena somewhere by Mara.
Hyena with Jamie fast asleep. They have not moved since we last spoke. So Soup is here along with Hershey. They're off in the distance. And I would really like to move so I could get a little bit closer, even if it was just to Jude here with her son Mzimu. But I can't, because I can't bring myself to stir the 3 sleepy hyena cubs that are lying right in front of the vehicle. They walked right up to us, as you would have been aware earlier, and then they went to sleep. There you go. See what I mean? That's the... Oops, sorry, I forgot to press the display button. That's the camera that's mounted on the front of the vehicle. Cub cam, as we call it. Ah, Umka, the mystery of the moment, actually, in terms of different den sites. So Umka is wondering how many different den sites a hyena clan can have. Several is the answer. First of all, obviously they have their regular den sites that they rotate between, as you will know. But they also have natal dens, in other words, where they go to give birth, which is often separate from the communal den. In fact, more than often, most of the time, it is separate from the communal den. Then, depending upon the rank of the female and her personality and whether or not she gets on, it differs from individual to individual, but she'll then move the cub to a communal den if there are other cubs around. Now, it doesn't always depend on rank. So, for example, Clever Girl and her daughter Pudding have been at the communal den for a long time. So even though she's right at the bottom of the hierarchy, or close to the bottom of the hierarchy, she doesn't mind. Jude's obviously here with Mzimo. She's around about the middle of the ranking structure. And you can have 2 communal dens. You can have a communal den and 2 natal dens. It really just depends on what's happening in the clan and how it's all playing out. So it's entirely possible that I know about the main North Clan den. It's entirely possible that, for example, a low-ranking female or any female is off somewhere else with a litter of cubs that we don't even know about, which is kind of what happened to us with Gwen on Juma not so long ago, when we found an unexpected den site, and she was there with cubs that were massive. And it's been known to happen to the researchers as well, where all of a sudden older cubs pop out that they've never seen before. And some females just seem to prefer privacy when they raise their brood. I don't know if you could really call it a brood, when they raise their cubs. I've noticed that certain hyenas from this clan have certain hangout spots where they like to be. So lower ranking individuals like Pterodactyl will be off a little bit to the north of us. She likes hanging out there. And Waffles and the royal family, or the noble family, all hang out around this lugger system or river system, even if they don't have cubs. It's been interesting learning and following them. I've followed hyena clans before, and I've really got to grips with them, but I've never dedicated my each and every single moment in the field to them, which is essentially what we've done when we haven't been helping Brent or Scott to find their lions or cheetah respectively. We've spent all our time with these guys, and it pays off sitting here, because often they get up, especially with this windy cold weather, often they get up before the sun goes down, and off we go dashing into different directions. We've been missing someone for a long time. Someone, a hyena, for a little bit, about a week now. And I'm wondering where it's gone. Okay, well, we keep track of 70 plus hyenas. Let's go across and keep track of one little leopard on a mission.
Well, good luck with that, Jamie. I don't envy you, because keeping track of those 70 hyenas is more than a full-time job, but Jamie is doing it very well at the moment. Now, Hosanna is still sitting, still waiting, still hoping something will come his way. At this stage, though, you can see he's far more relaxed than what he was. There are a few impalas still milling about, and will probably come down at some point, so we'll just sit tight. I don't want to move too much. I think if we just sit and don't move, it's better than us driving around in all kinds of areas and doing anything. We've kind of got a bush on our left-hand side, but I don't know, I might move away a little bit further than what we are at the moment, because it seems like poor little Hosanna is having a tough time trying to work out exactly where to go. The problem for him is the wind is really not helping at all. It keeps shifting and changing, and what happened earlier with those impalas being so close was more wind than anything else, because impalas had no idea, and all of a sudden the wind just turned and came over our left shoulders and straight into the faces of those impalas. And as soon as that happened, that impala started to snort and let out a warning that it had picked up something. And then, as we saw, the impalas then spotted him, that one in particular, and that was the end of that. So poor Sana's got to deal with the wind this afternoon. That's probably why he's been more successful in the evenings. It's that time of the year where we have a lot of wind during the day, and in the evenings the wind settles down completely, and it becomes a lot easier, I think, for him to be able to position himself without being smelled and his scent wafting in the air. I think he's probably find it's much easier to hunt at that time than it is now during the day. But he's still just sitting very elegantly and waiting. He'll keep looking around, though. As soon as he spots impalas coming down to drink, he's going to be in and trying to hunt. No. Leopards won't avoid male impalas. They will take them regularly. In fact, during the rut season, there's more male impalas killed than there are females. It's just that it's much easier to tangle with a female. She's much lighter, and for any cat like Tandi or Hosanna, who's still a bit smaller, it's much easier to be able to take young impalas and females up into a tree than it is a male. A male impala is a heavy animal. It weighs probably more than what Hosanna weighs at the moment, and that means that he's got to use a lot of strength to take not only himself but this impala up into the tree. And so taking big males like this, or big rams, is often quite difficult for a leopard, and that's why they will prefer to go after younger impalas. Also, younger impalas tend to be a little bit more inexperienced and sometimes make mistakes and will go straight towards a leopard, which makes life easier. Or if females, if they're pregnant, can sometimes be a little slower. Now look, he's seen these male impalas, so he's repositioned himself now. He's turned his whole body to face those impalas and to see what's going on and to try and just double check if he can get into a better position. I don't think, though, he's going to have much luck in being able to get anywhere near them. There's not much cover for him. Unfortunately, this is the only cover, is this bush, unless he gets behind that dam wall, which he's not going to be able to do now because these impalas are too close for him to be able to actually see what's going on. But it would be interesting. There's enough male impalas there to cause maybe a bit of a stir where one impala gets a bit nervous and maybe tries to chase the other one and one runs in this direction. We'll just have to see how it plays out, but he's definitely interested. It would be great if he is able to get a big impala, because I feel that he's deserved it for all the effort he's put in. He needs to get himself a big meal that he can put up into a tree and hopefully can feed on for a few days before one of his family decides that they want to come in and get served at Hosana's diner, because at this stage it seems as though Tingana and Tundi, they are loving the fact that they can just kind of cruise around and find Hosana and generally find food out of him as well. So particularly Tingana, he's really benefited quite nicely over the last little bit. Now, there's lots of impalas coming this way. I don't know if maybe it's going to be better for us just to reposition ourselves a little further away from Hosana, that he's not going to be disturbed as much and also don't want to attract as much attention to him. So I think I'm going to go around to the other side of the pan and just get out of his way. And so while I do that, let's send you back across to Sydney and the Nkuhuma Pride and see if they're still sleeping.
I am still here by the Nkuhuma Pride. The sighting is still very, very, very interesting. Very beautiful pride. Now I can see some of them are starting to stretch now. Maybe in a very short while they might show us their direction of movement, which is what I cannot wait for. I want to see what this pride is intending to do this afternoon. All those ones you are seeing lying down there, they've just repositioned themselves. They are all awake now. Ali, the hunting activities normally here is conducted by the females. Whether young or small, they are not responsible in order to gather food for the pride. So it means this young male is depending on these females for survival. Nina Moo, I am not too sure if they've got to sharpen their nails every day, but they've got to do that when need be. It's not something that you see them doing very often. Yes, they've got to do that because those are very much important tools when they are fighting and also when they are taking down the prey. I just saw a little bit of injury on that one now, which is much more right in front of us. I can see that there is a scar there, and that it seems like something which is about a year old, but it is again causing problems because these animals, they normally also concentrate in between the trees, so these wounds, they get scratched again, and it's always attracting some flies, which makes it very difficult for the wound to heal. Look at that. If you look at the color of the body versus the color of the grass, is the same. I'm not too sure when last this pride has taken something. So that's why I'm very much interested to see what they are thinking about to do this afternoon. I don't think it's going to be very easy for any animal, if that animal is alone, to escape these 11 lions. Yes, I've been on a sighting whereby this very same pride lost an opportunity to take down a buffalo. They managed to corner that buffalo nicely. It was a couple of buffaloes, but they were not successful. It was never easy. Look at that. Beautiful. If you look on the face, you can see that the one leaking now is also one of the a little bit old, but it's not that very old. I can see that it's developing some hairs on the side. It's a young male, but it's already got some sign of scratches above the nose. Giraffe girl, that is true. So this is so wow, it is beautiful. So they're not that very far away from the waterhole. Not too sure if that waterhole is still active or not. So because they've been here since this morning, they might move on towards the nearest waterhole, or if not, maybe they might conduct some of their hunting activities later this afternoon. The ears are always moving all the time. They know it's not very safe. Predators, they are very much nervous of other predators. We are now going to Mara. Jenny has got some hyenas again.
Sleepy lions to sleepy hyenas in the Masai Mara. They're not up to very much at the moment. You see, normally these are the times where Manu and myself would sit and watch and do our work emails and whatever other admin sections that we wanted to do. That was how we get ourselves, or we used to get ourselves through these long, somewhat, I wouldn't call them boring stretches, because you're still out in the Masai Mara enjoying the scenery and the weather, and you never know what's going to change. But essentially this is what our wildlife watching is all about. Spotted bottoms. I've been trying to work out if I can ID cubs from looking at them from their backs. Doesn't work very well. Rosalind, hyenas can sleep for a very long time if they choose to. They can sleep for up to 15 hours a day, possibly even more. They certainly sleep less than the big cats, though. So the way that I've observed them, they're almost on a human schedule, if that makes sense, but in reverse. So I would say that that's a sort of an 8-hour a day sleep. They generally don't go to bed or fall asleep properly before around about 9 o'clock in the morning, and they tend to wake up at around about 5 in the afternoon. So not quite an 8-hour, but around there. So they generally are quite busy animals. Right, let's go across to Hasana while he's awake, because his food is coming back.
Well, his food has come back. They are quite close now. You can see there's the edge of the water, and the bush that he's in is not far. It's just off to the left-hand side of that male impala. So we've moved quite a long way away now. We've decided that we'll give this area as much space as possible, leave Hosanna to be able to do his thing. So we can't actually see Hosanna very well. I just know he's in there because I saw his head pop up just now as these impalas were approaching. But he's going to wait, hopefully, for all of them to come in and drink. And it will be interesting because once they get in here and they actually start drinking, it's going to be very difficult for them to see him coming, and I wonder if he's going to just explode out from there. So it'll be a very, very difficult drinking session for these little impalas. I was just watching to see if they are starting to make their way. They're a bit kind of nervy. I suppose they've been seen him already, and they're just kind of watching, and there's a bit of this breeze is still coming up. It's settling a little bit. It's not as much as what it was earlier. The breeze is starting to settle down a little bit, but I'm hoping that they'll start to come in and drink, and particularly the females. The females tend to be the ones that kind of lead the males here. The males are a bit wary, and then as the females get a little closer, so the males get dragged along with them, and they've taken a long time to get here. They've kind of walked slowly across the open area, as you can see where they are now, and they're looking in every direction, and they're just a bit wary of what's going on. And so I'm hoping that eventually, us being a little bit further away, Hosanna being in his bush sleeping, or not sleeping but flat, would make it much easier for them both to be able to have a fair opportunity. No, I don't know why. That's close. That impala ran and just turned at the right second. It was heading straight for that bush. This is what I was talking about. It's these male impalas, they get a bit testy with one another, and then they chase each other, and that's when they force a mistake, and it's what Hassan is waiting for. He's waiting for a male to lash out at another and push it very close to him. And like I say, that impala turned at the last second. Had it run another 5 meters, I think he would have been in very big trouble. It turned on the road. No sign of Hosanna still. I'm pretty sure he's as flat can be inside that bush, trying to hide as well as he can and make sure that he's not seen by these impalas. So they're still very wary, looking around. There comes a hyena now as well. So there's a hyena making its way down the road into this direction, and just see it there on the left. So it's probably heard the impalas making a bit of a fuss earlier, and it's just coming to investigate what's going on. Now, this is not good for Hosanna at all. Hyenas on the scene will mean that even if he was successful, in all likelihood would get robbed quite quickly of this carcass, because he would probably not be able to get it into a tree in time, and that hyena will come in and investigate what's going on. So really not ideal at all for poor Hosanna. It's a stroke of bad luck. It's quite early in the day for hyenas to be around, but I suppose they've come to expect things to be happening at this pan, and they also have to drink water, and they also need to find food, so they're only doing what's natural. But it's really not great timing at all. Poor Hosanna is not having a good time of it. The impalas are nervy, the wind is not helping him, and now hyenas, his mortal enemy, are now in the area too, so he's going to really struggle here. I don't think this is going to pay off for him at all. Like I say, even if he did grab it, he's going to have to deal with that hyena running in and trying to steal it. Which hyena it is, difficult to say. I know Fika was around this morning. He was around this morning, so maybe it is Fika that is there. I can't see from here. It's a very long way away as to where that hyena is. You can hear the impalas are a bit they're alarm calling a little bit at it now. I believe a lot of you are a bit disappointed that the hyena has arrived, and I know it's not ideal for poor Hosanna, but don't fear. Hosanna is not going to give up. He's going to sit here all evening, and this won't be the only impalas that come down, and eventually this hyena will lose interest and probably move off, and it'll allow him the gap that he needs. But let's see whether or not they scatter because of the hyena. If the hyena walks this way, it actually might be an interesting scenario, because we might see the impalas scatter across the pan and go across the dam, and that might mean that Hosanna still tries to grab one. Whether or not he'll be successful is anyone's guess, and also whether or not he'll be able to wrestle it away from this hyena would be another story altogether as well. So it's not uncommon, though. I've seen leopard and hyena actually feed off the same carcass at the same time, so both of them on either side busy eating, especially if it's one-on-one and it's a big male leopard and a male hyena, which this looks like a male hyena from here. It's difficult to make 100% sure, but I wouldn't be surprised if it is Fika. Like I say, he was seen on the dam cam early this morning milling about in this area, and probably just went and slept under a bush somewhere, and has now been attracted by the various alarm calls that have rung out through the day here. You can hear lots and lots of oxpeckers calling as well, so that's all just birds that have come off these impalas, and they'll kind of settle down again just now. So you'll find the impalas won't be too stressed about that. The oxpeckers generally are around them and do make a lot of noise around them anyway, and so they're quite aware of those. It's not like the francolins. When the francolins make a bit of noise, the impalas will sort of perk up a lot more as they watch and see what's going on and make sure that there isn't a predator that's disturbed the francolins, given that the francolins are ground birds. But our hyena is moving off, thankfully, at this stage. Make no mistake, though, that hyena is milling about here, and any sound of an impala dying will ring out, and that hyena will be here in seconds. It will not be very far. It depends, obviously, how far it walks and how long it takes if Hosanna was to grab one. But even if it gets 400 or 500 meters away, it will pick it up and will come bursting into the scene. And there you go. I'm just walking off down towards Twin Dams Road and maybe carrying on southwards. So we're going to wait. We're going to see. Hopefully these impalas are going to come in. They look like they're going to start maybe making their way now that they've seen that hyena. And while we do that, let's send you across to James, who's admiring the view.
I'm admiring a very pretty view, everybody. Don't you think it's pretty, Senzo? It's pretty, isn't it? We have some gorgeous clouds up atop there. Those, as far as I remember, me geography, are cumulostratus. Are they? I think they are. Sort of puffy-ish clouds, not too high up. I think that's what's going on there. They are harbingers sometimes of cold weather or cold fronts, but these ones seem to be moving off. So perhaps they mean an improvement of the weather, which would be good. We'd like to have improved weather. It was a little bit foul today. Gorgeous. Just taken a couple of illegal photographs. The sun soon to head down, but we have a little bit more light, and so carry on the search we shall. We are sitting here on Torchwood, and we've left our leopards, as is obvious by the fact that we aren't looking at any leopards at the moment. We haven't found anything else here on Torchwood other than this gorgeous view, but we will attempt to rectify that situation shortly. Marvellous. Are you inspired by that view, Senzo? Yes, I am also inspired. This is my inspired face. Apparently Megan is also inspired, but she says we should still rather go to Sydney with his lions.
Not much is happening at the moment. They are still very much static, not showing what their interests are. But I can see now that they might start to move, because they are now just all of them moving around, trying to stand and scratch and change positions. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven. So the other four are on the other side. These ones are much more this side, so they're just changing. There has been quite a lot of movement, a little bit. You can see the other ones just moved towards that area. One of them is now very much inquisitive and also got a very big wound there, right close to the hip. You can see that nicely now. So for a cat like this to recover very quickly is not easy, because these cats, they are faced with quite a lot of challenges. When chasing a prey, sometimes they've got to chase the prey in between the bushes, which will then again open the wound. And the positioning of the wound as well. When I got here, that female we are seeing now, I saw the mouth parts was full of the blood. Then I thought maybe they are just from a kill now, until I've realized that it's because of licking that wound. Look at that. So when they're opening their legs like that, it helps them in order to chase away the parasites. You can see it's clear that behind the ears is nice and black. So that is for their communication. Below their prey's hearing, and below our hearing as well. So if you look at that animal right on the neck, you will see that it doesn't have hairs, the one we are seeing now. So that shows you is a female. If you look at this one now, there is some development of hairs right here on the neck. So that shows you that this is a young male. And it's the only male I have seen so far here. The rest are females. Oh, one of them is limping. Not too sure if maybe she came like this or she just now stepped on a thorn. Yeah. Look at that. I am not alone here by this sighting. I do have some other vehicles enjoying this sighting. Everybody's just saying wow here. Everybody's excited about all these displays that we have been seeing. Look at that. This is very much interesting. Every time lions wake up, they must do this. In the mornings, they do this. Also during the day, when they wake up, they do this. It's part of their ceremonial greetings. So now the lions are just very much relaxed, but one of my colleagues, James, he's got an antelope, which is one of those animals hunted by the predators. Let's see what antelope James has got.
Well, not a predator, an antelope, correct. The kudu, yes, eaten quite frequently by the Nkuhuma pride, not in their current state of lying down. It's funny, I heard the Nkuhumas were getting up and stretching about half an hour ago, and I thought to myself, yeah, that's about an hour and a half before they'll actually move. So let's see if I was correct or not. This a beautiful female kudu, her husband or consort, not too far away, is now hiding behind a big stick, and then also behind a stick, but on a termite mound, another kudu female. And she is making use of the nutrition afforded by the termite mound. I say that, of course, because the tree growing from the top of the termite mound will hopefully have a bit more nutrition than the rest of the trees. That's interesting. That is a sandpaper bush, Erita amina, sorry, Judy H, if you're watching. And it's called a sandpaper bush because it has a very rough leaf. And yet the kudu do not seem to be worried in the slightest about the roughness of the leaf. They put up with it. I think that's what it is. Yes, it's definitely what it is. It's just the only reason I'm having any doubt at all is that it's so very big. Very nice. Now, good news on the wire is that there is now space again with Tandy and Tlalalamba, so I think that we will go back there and enjoy them as the sun goes down, if it's all the same to you. Last thing I want to show you here is the squirrel. And you see the squirrel there? Senzo, I bet you can't. Can you see it? It's in the fork of the tree. Just head right into the middle of that tree. Down a bit. Down, down, down. Oh, there's another one. You found another one. Second squirrel. That one's better than my one. My one is in the fork. Go down a bit. There we go. There it is. You see? I love the way squirrels sit out in the afternoons on their trees, observing the sun go down, sort of taking in the day and contemplating what has happened. It always looks a little bit like they should have a little teacup in their hands and a plate of fresh scones next to them, or perhaps an orange cake. Perfect time of the day for that. In fact, I guarantee my father's doing precisely that right now. It gives one a tremendous sense of peace to watch something like that, I feel. While there is obviously horrible violence in a place like this, if you look at that impala that we were seeing earlier, clearly with these squirrels that is not the case, and they'll shortly go into their little holes while you go across to the Maasai Mara.
I've done a little bit of a switch around. Jude has been kicked out of her place by Soup, and she's now settled down after all the cubs have given her or come across to pay their respects to her. And now everything's settled down once again. Looks like Lobster and Chow are still planning on suckling, even though I think they've been suckling pretty much all day. Just listen. There's no begging, no squittering from them today, because Soup is not objecting at all. Look at her back. It's interesting. I don't know if those are injuries or if she's got some kind of skin disease. I've noticed it on some of the other hyenas as well, and if I were to guess, I would say they were injuries, but I'm not 100% certain on that. Particularly the marks around her skin towards her bottom, or towards the top of her tail. That looks like it could be healed or disease. Some kind of infection, maybe a fungal infection, maybe a parasite infection. Oh, here comes... See, look, Billy's also got it. But I always assumed that Billy had it because she was a low ranker. And that she was being bitten and bullied. But now I see Soup's got it as well. D-Red, yes, it is possible for clans to split up on the basis that there are hierarchical disputes. Sometimes instead of an efficient coup, there's just a displacement of the head of the clan. Actually, what will happen is that they'll just split, especially if they get very large. Hyenas do compete, obviously, for access to food during low season for them. When the migration isn't here, there's obviously more competition for food than there might be around about now, although the migration still hasn't really properly arrived in North Clan territory. But yes, it is possible for clans to split. They can and they do, and it's usually as a result of resources, or they just get too large. It's possible that if you go far enough back, you'll find that some of the clans are related to each other in neighboring areas, that they came from the same base, so to speak, the same clan. I mean, it's impossible without DNA evidence to ever really know that for certain. Just in the same way that lion prides, if you go back far enough, often will be related to each other. Oh good, they've all gone quiet now. It was all so promising. And now they've all gone back to sleep. You just see the tip of Chow's ear. Cute. Next to them is either Hershey or Ferg. I haven't managed to work this one out. One of their uncles. Uncles? Wait. Soup is... Ferg and Hershey are Waffles' son, and Soup is Waffles' granddaughter. Making they would be then their great uncles, because they would be Soup's uncles. Have I got that right? I think so. It was oddly confusing. Yes, they would be Lobster and Chow's great uncles, and the males love to spend time at the den. They often come and play with the cubs. Well, while we're sitting here, I'll tell you a story that I was reminded about, and that I probably shouldn't tell, but I'm going to tell you anyway. Oh, wait, hold on, let me answer Meg's question first. No, let me not answer Meg's question first. Let me tell you the story first, and then she'll ask me the question. Yesterday, Manu and I were driving along, quite happily minding our own business, and we get flagged down by a tourist who was very insistent that he needed to see lions. And I recognized the expression on the guide's face, young guy, obviously new to this line of work. And I could see I know that expression of old, of a guide who has been lumped with a guest who has caused him no end of exhaustion. And this guy decided that he was really determined to see lions. And we were in a bit of a rush. We kept trying to drive away. And no, where are the lions? And I'm going, I don't know. I'm sorry. I've just got out. And, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. So we had a rough idea. So we showed the guy on the map. And then we went to drive away. And he was going, no, I'll follow you. Let me follow you. No, I'll follow you. And I said to him, you can't follow me. Because... just no, that's not how safaris work. You can't just tailgate me until we find an animal. And secondly, you're going to be horrendously disappointed because I'm not looking for lions at all. Anyway, long story short, it turns out they really needed to pump their tire, and they ended up following us all the way to where they could do so. So it was a long and quite awkward moment for Manu and myself, but we did have to laugh about it afterwards. I'll follow you. No, you won't. That's not how it works. I mean, I'm more than happy to lead people to sightings if they really want to. You know, if I know where something is, I'm happy to go and show someone where to go if I have the time. But there's a subtle difference between going somewhere where you know something is and someone just following you until you find something. And then he did end up following us anyway. It was the fastest refueling we have ever done. we shot out of there in second gear and carried on until we couldn't see another car anywhere in our vicinity. Billie Jean's gone to sleep in a hollow. I'm sorry, guys. Was that a boring story? Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. It was a lot funnier in person. Oh, I think we should go across to Tristan. He tells funny stories much better than I do.
Well, no, I'm not so sure about that. I feel like the best storytellers in our group is probably Brent Leo Smith and James Hendry. Both of them love a storytelling session, and both of them are pretty comical about the way that they do it and always tend to make everyone laugh. But the status quo is still the same here. Impalas are still nervy, Hossan is still in his bush, and nothing's really changed between the two. So everything is still very, very similar. We've got the impalas that just want to drink more than anything else before it gets dark, and Hosanna who just wants to eat them before anything else changes too. So it's kind of a tough situation for both to be in. I'm sure the impalas eventually are going to start drinking. It just takes one to start drinking, and that will encourage the others to start coming down. You can see they're very alert though. They're looking around, checking. There's going to be some nyalas that are going to join the fray fairly shortly too. They're coming up from the complete opposite side and coming from our left, and so they might be a prime target as well. So there they are. They're coming from the lodge side behind us. Nice big grouping of them, and they will also move in just general direction. I think they'll though hug the lodge more than anything else. I don't think we're going to see them moving right out into the open, but you never know. They might head in this way. So Hosanna's got lots and lots of options at this stage, which makes life a little bit tricky for him in some respects, because he's now got to decide which ones he wants. And the good thing for him, though, is that these impalas, while they know something's around, they still haven't actually seen him. They snort every now and then and they bolt, but I don't think they can see him directly. And so he's still got a chance. And the darker it gets and the more the sun sets, which is what's happening now, the better and easier it's going to come for him. So we'll just have to wait and see how this plays out. But look at how those ears are moving, nose is flaring. It must be so difficult to be an impala when you come down to a water point like this and you can smell that something is not right. And the desire to drink is, you can imagine being as thirsty as you've ever been. And now you walk and you know something's not right, but you have to drink because otherwise, you know, survival depends on it. And so that's why they're still coming. Now that little one at the back left is what I reckon Hosanna would be watching most. So that one right on the left-hand side there, that's a small impala. It's one of the probably the late lambs. And I reckon that if I was impala, or if I was a leopard, that would be the one that I would be watching the closest, and it's drifting off slightly from the rest of the group, and if it just makes one false error, I think that's the one that Hosanna might charge at and grab. But they're starting to relax a little bit more. They're still a bit twitchy and tentative and nervy, but they are better than what they were about 15 minutes ago. 15 minutes ago they were snorting and carrying on and really not being very relaxed about life. But here comes the male to drink, so he might lead the group in. You would never know that there's a leopard there. If you came here now, and unless you drove right up against that bush, you would have absolutely no idea that there is even a leopard anywhere near these impalas. You would think that they're just nervous of the water itself, but actually there is more than just a threat of water. There's that predator lying right behind. So he's pretty much behind the stick that sticks straight up. So when we widen, we can see the impalas. That's pretty much where he is right behind that straight up sticking branch. That's where he's settled earlier, where we saw his head last. So he's not far, but far enough at this stage. Like I say, I think he would relish the fact if this pan grew some vegetation right around the edges. Can you imagine if there was a bit of a thicket right next to the water? Those poor impalas, or any animal that came down to drink, would be in a lot of trouble if that were the case, because Hosana, I reckon, would have put himself directly in it and waited. So Penny, I reckon you and I would be the exact same and have a nervous disposition about ourselves if we were also hunted by everything that has teeth, claws and eats meat out here. So it's a tough life to be an impala. I mean, if you think that from birth you're being targeted by snakes, birds of prey, leopard, lion, hyena, cheetah, wild dog, it's caracal, it's really not an easy, like jackals even, in fact. And then as you get older, obviously the bigger predators come into the fore, but still, they are a firm favorite amongst most of our predators out here, and that makes it very difficult. So they have to be on high alert all the time. They have to be aware of their surroundings, because otherwise they're going to end up not being very alive for very long. So it stands them in good stead, and you can see they're still very aware that there's something somewhere near that bush. I don't think they can actually see him, but they can see that there's something not right. They keep turning and looking right in that direction. So I think they know that there's something there. They just don't know what it is just yet, and whether or not it's still there. We need a little rutting session to break out here and for them to chase each other all over the show, because if that happens, then I think there's going to be a better chance for Hosana. But anyway, we'll sit here, we'll wait, we'll be patient. The sun is setting. It's now the time that a leopard really is going to come into its own. And so while we do that, let's send you across to Sydney as his lions start prepping for their evening activity.
The lions are now becoming very active. It's cleaning time now. You can see they're trying now to fine-tune themselves. They're trying to also clean their claws and their legs, and they were cleaning their faces. What I'm thinking now is to leave this sighting just for a little bit and go and see if I can find something nearby until they wake up. Then I will come back and have a beautiful sighting, because earlier on in the very same area I did pick up some of the leopard tracks. So I just want to go and drive around for a while and come back so that we can see them, because now I'm convinced that at any time they might now start showing us some activities. Krita, I haven't noticed any sign of the buffaloes in the area at the moment. That is what I'm going to try and investigate also now during my last round here, just to see what is it that attracted these lions to come here today. And this is, remember, this is the pride which nearly caught a buffalo right in front of me some weeks ago. They are very much interested on buffaloes. Maybe they were attracted by buffaloes, not too sure. Maybe I'll find the signs of the attraction of these lions in the area here. Yeah, I'm just gonna Jinska, that is what I am hoping for. I will be very much excited if these lions hunt this afternoon. That would be very much great to see such a big group of lions conducting hunting activities. Is amazing. I saw it before from the very same pride. So now I am going to move around and see if I can find something and come back to these lions later on. I will be here again just now. I just want to be sure because I'm hearing some of the things that I don't understand in the area here. So now let's see, James has got some scavengers. I don't know where is he.
Well, I've got a scavenger, and the scavenger here is cold. Well, that's not surprising. It's quite chilly. And the scavenger is, in fact, waiting for scraps from the tree that Tandi is sleeping in. Tlalamba has yet to make an appearance in the tree. We've come back here, as I said we would, because, of course, we didn't have anything else, and everyone left the sighting. And there's a lovely shot of another hungry hyena. So for those of you who are hyena experts, perhaps you could give us an idea of who you think those are. Me, I have no idea. It's very nice to have some hyenas here. I actually feel like I might recognize that animal. Couldn't tell you its name though. Hello. Couldn't you come and make a den round our place, please? We miss you a lot. Hoping for a little scrap or two dropped. Now this carcass is not rotting, of course, just yet. Another hot day in the sun, and it'll probably start to niff quite badly. But I suspect it was the stomach contents, wherever they may be, that eventually attracted the hyena to this hanging carcass. It really is a little bit... Magic Dragon, yes, Tlalamba is safe-ish from the hyenas. No animal is truly safe from hyenas. But she's wily enough and old enough to hide and to climb up a tree if she gets into trouble. So yes, I think she is safe. You can see her mother is not particularly worried about a great deal right now. And in fact has been lying in precisely that position for just about the whole afternoon. It's a wonderful sight, that, of a leopard in sweet repose up in a tree. The only slight disappointment about the sighting is the fact that the sun is behind a very large bank of clouds, and so rather than bathing her in golden light, it's a little bit dull, but one mustn't be too fussy. Now the big thing, of course, is she going to be here tomorrow? My worry is that she isn't. And that's because she's just about finished that kill. The hyenas are here. And I'm not sure how easy this tree is to eat in. But we'll see. We will be back right here at roughly probably 4 o'clock tomorrow morning. That's quite early, really. Francis, a few good reasons for the lack of vultures. One, there aren't that many vultures anymore, which is very sad. I think there has certainly been a decline over the last 15 years or so. The other reason is that it's been a cold day, cloudy, so there have been no thermals. And because there have been no thermals, the vultures would not have done much flying. It's very difficult for them to fly unless there are thermals, and therefore they wouldn't have spotted it. It's also possible, of course, that she's had it under a bush, hidden away from something like vultures, and that she only pulled it up here once the hyenas arrived. I think vultures would spot that from some way off. And of course vultures do use their eyes and not their noses to find kills like that. And that's, let's face it, pretty obvious. I think even I'd spot that. Right, the ultimately patient, ultimately social cat, Hosanna, is now either hunting or making friends. I'm not sure even he knows.
I don't think he knows, but he's got more options than I don't think he knows what to do with at the moment, because we've got the impala herd that's now coming in to drink. There's an impala coming from behind him. There's Nyala, and there's even a duiker that's also around. The duiker's down in the dam, so the duiker's probably the safest at this point. It's right far away. There it is, just in the middle there, David, walking around in behind the buffalo thorn. So that's where the duiker is. Now there's a whole grouping of Nyala that are coming in. And then, like I say, there's impalas. Now that impala at the back is the one that I want to watch, because that one is probably in the most danger. It is walking straight towards Hosanna. The problem is I don't know if Hosanna's even seen it, but let's watch that one, because this could get very close. If it comes up towards that bush and doesn't spot Hosanna, it's going to be in big trouble, that poor impala. It's walking right into where Hosanna is sleeping. Remember, Hosanna's in the bush between where that impala is and the water point, and so it's walking right there. Look, that's the bush there, just on the right hand side. Oh, I wonder if this is the move he's going to make. It's that impala for sure. That is definitely the closest. Now you see that impala is a bit jittery. Now I wonder, it's very close. I think maybe not even 5 meters. If that impala turns and goes broadside between the pan, ooh, it's going the right way. I don't know, it's going to be a tough one. If it goes between the water and that bush, I think Hosanna is going to burst out of there very quickly. I wonder if he's seen it. It's so difficult to know. We can't see him. We don't know what he's doing. But there it goes. I think we're going to see him coming out imminently. That impala is very nervy. Maybe as it goes past the bush. Oh, let's just see now. Megs, I don't know if we're going to have time to go live again on our different platforms, but we can try. Well, welcome back everybody. We've been out for most of the afternoon and we've been sitting with a leopard that's been hunting around a waterhole, and you can see there's animals all around at the moment. Everybody is sitting kind of nervy, shouting. No one actually knows what's going on at the moment, but the leopard is in the bush between all of these impalas. So that bush straight in front of us, behind that fallen over stump in the water, is where the leopard is. So inside there, and they think he's there, but they can't see him very well, and there's impalas that are very close, particularly that impala. It's less than about 10 meters away, and so I reckon if he was going to have a go at it, he should have gone already. I think he's unfortunately probably been spotted now, because there's lots of shouting going on and he's going to have a tough time. Now remember, we are interactive, so you may ask any questions that you have. Just post them in the comment section below and we'll try and answer as many as possible. I just want to see if that impala tries to make a break for it. It's the one on the left that we've got to watch, that one there, that's just behind that little pan's wall. That's the one that is probably in the most danger. It's the closest towards there, and it's going to try and see if it can join the rest of the herd. And I wonder if it runs between the water and the actual bush, if our leopard is not going to come flying out of there. We know the leopard is in there because earlier we were right there with it, and it hasn't moved since we've been here. It's been waiting for all of these animals to come in. As it's now starting to get dark, it's the best time for a leopard to be hunting, and so slowly but surely it's waiting for these impalas to come down, relax enough to drink, and then it's going to go after them. Now I think they can smell him. I don't think they can see him, because if you look, some of them are starting to drink again, so they're not that alert to a predator. If they saw him, they would be going crazy, and you would find everybody would stop drinking. So they definitely very, very interested. Right, now you can see from our little camera that is down on a branch at the waterhole, which is our nest camera. They are very, very cool because it allows us to watch what goes on at this waterhole all the time. You can see the impalas coming in to drink and are very, very nervy. You can also see us in the background. We've all sat off a little bit. You'll notice there are some other vehicles around. That's various people that have come out to find the wildlife, so people from all over the world. And you'll find that the impalas, they come when they drink. Now watch the one at the back there. It's going to be interesting. So the one that's between the water and the bush is coming through. Now let's see that it's in the wrong position now. That's where that leopard's missed its chance. It had to go there, I think, when that little antelope went through. Now there's a big nyala that's also coming to investigate. This might be a bit big for this leopard to go after, but the nyala is there, so that's another type of antelope species. So I was saying just now there's a lot going on here, and there's just species of prey all around this poor leopard. I think he's maybe got too many that he doesn't know which one to actually go for at this stage, but his opportunity was that impala that walked between the water and the bush. That was the one that he needed to go after if he was to be successful. You can hear the impalas are shouting, lots of noise coming from them. Those nasal snorts that they've got. This is incredible. Now, if he goes after that nyala, I'm going to be very surprised. In all likelihood, he would lose that because he wouldn't be strong enough to take it up into a tree, and things like hyenas, unfortunately, would grab it. But let's see. No, still not going. I'm very surprised he hasn't made one attempt. Now, I believe a lot of you are on the edge of your seats, and, well, I think we all are at this stage. The vehicles that are with me, us, the impalas, the nyala, even Hosanna probably is on the edge of his seat. His bum must be wiggling right now in prep to try and explode out of there. But I think he's unfortunately just missed his opportunity. That one impala that came running through or coming close was the one that he needed to go after, but he missed that shot. It is starting to get a bit gloomy now, so I think maybe if everything gets a bit darker and these guys still hang around, there might be a chance. But it's going to be very difficult. Now that everybody is so alert and snorting, it's going to make it very tough for our little leopard to get anywhere near those prey animals. But you would think, sitting here and watching this, that that would be close enough. Unfortunately, not close enough for him. He needs about 5 meters on those animals, and so they're just out of his range, and you can see they're slowly departing. Well, it was worth having a look, and it's amazing to kind of watch this process unfold. We're going to carry on staying here for a while longer, and if things get any more heated, then we certainly will go live again. But it's been an absolute pleasure having you with us, and I hope that you enjoyed this little segment from Africa, and hopefully you'll join us again on Safari Live. Right, well, it's still all happening. It's still impalas, nyalas, noise. So we'll sit tight and see. Hopefully, poor Hassan is going to get himself a meal. While we do that, they'll send you back across to Tandi and Colombo. We're having a far more relaxed day.
They are. She just got up, did a nice big stretch, looked at us, saw that we were coming live, and now you can see her in sweet repose from the other angle, which is very nice. The hyenas have not moved. Kalamba has yet to make an appearance, and the light is fading. So shortly we will have to go into infrared, not just yet. We might actually do a little drive around. Should we do a little drive around, Senzo? Come, let's do a little drive around. Let's see if we can find Kalamba while you are with us. She's not too far from here. And of course we will go back to Hosanna if he decides to actually try and kill something, as opposed to have an evening drink with them. Friday evening, of course it is. Watch your heads, everybody. Duck down. Well done, Senzo. There's a better angle of Tandi for you. course, would be rather lovely if that was a golden or red sky behind as opposed to a rather bleakish one. Like I say, I don't know if she's going to manage to eat that impala in the tree. And I do hope so very much that she'll be here tomorrow. That is a very fat belly on her, so she might be. Your Majesty, are you going to be here tomorrow morning? I know one shouldn't say such things about Her Majesty. You know that she's fat and perhaps in need of a small evening walk or something like that, but you know, it is true. Look at that belly hanging over the edge of the tree. Now, I would imagine in her current position she could be in some danger of falling off because she doesn't have... Yeah, I mean, if her backside slipped off there, she'd be in big trouble. I don't think there's any chance of it slipping off there. But you can imagine the fright on her face if she had to hold on with just her front feet. Careful, my dear. Ooh. You. Paige, I missed one word of that question from you. You say you're dressed like a leopard, age 3, and what, Meg? Oh, well, I mean, Paige, I'm sure that you're much faster than you are normally because you're dressed like a leopard, and a leopard like this can run very, very fast, Paige, almost as fast as a car. Not a very fast car, but almost as fast as a car. Much faster than a human being. I know you're very fast with your leopard costume on, but maybe even faster than you. They're extremely fast. But they can't run for a long time. So you might be able to run for a bit of a longer time than Her Majesty the Queen over here. It really does look like she's in slight danger of coming off. Not her best angle, our queen, our grumpy queen. She's got what? A grip there. Cecil says she's holding on by that little knot. Bit of noise going on from the hyenas. Well, we'll follow up on what's going on with our hyenas while you head over to the Masai Mara and see what those hyenas are doing.
I can hear hyenas too, and so can Billy, whooping off to the west of us. Oh, it's okay, Billy. Sorry, girl. I gave her a bit of a fright. I moved a bit too quickly. Paisley, on the other hand, could not care less. She's just upset that Mum's gone away. Here we go. Hey, Pais. Mum didn't give you much opportunity to suckle, did she? Just listening for a second. Billy, what are you doing? Madam? What's up? Manu and myself took our opportunity to eat our dinner now, on the basis that they never let us as we drive into the night, and we always end up hungry and exhausted. So we ate now, and I think that's what Billy's smelling the residue of. It's okay, girl. Sorry. None for you. None for you. Unfortunately. Who's whooping off in the distance? We're missing a number of cubs today. Okay. Oh. Here comes Soup. Back once again. No, wait, not Soup. Yes, Soup. Alright, we're going to try and keep up with these guys. I think we're going to get moving very shortly. That's not Soup. That's somebody else. While we do that, let's go across to Hosanna, who after his failed impala hunt is out moving.
Indeed he is, and he's busy scent marking once again. So there you go, there's the tail up as he marks and moves his way through a thicket. I'm just going to try and reposition us so that we can to see him because he's gone behind and he's going over the dam wall. So it seems as though he's decided he's going to give the dam a break, let everybody calm down, move out of the area, and then he'll come back, probably, I would imagine, in the early hours of the morning, much like what he did through the course of this morning. Now he looks as though he's going up onto the dam wall and might just go for a little stroll around there. Hopefully this doesn't mean that he's going to go quite far. Obviously we would like for him to be part of our TV show tomorrow morning, given that he was the star of last week as well. It would be really nice.
I am now still going back to the Unkuhuma Pride, where I have left them just now, just to try and see if now there is some activities taking place, because by this time of the day is the best time for the lions to show us their internal mood. I have been trying to search around here just to try and see if maybe I can find something they can go for, but so far I saw nothing. All I have seen, it was just a small herd of impalas. So I am going now back to see how is it going on the other side. So the temperature is now dropping. It's getting very cold now. You can see I'm now on my jersey, and when the temperatures are like this is when the lions are very much excited. I'm just trying to check from a distance. Nigora, the lions, what I have witnessed is that the lions don't have a specific time of the year. They can have babies at any time of the year. So I'm just about to get to where I left these lions earlier on. There is the spot. We are going in now. Now they haven't moved, they are still at the same area, but I can see that one of them is up. A lot of them are still down at the moment. A lot of them are still lying very much relaxed. I have just arrived now at the destination where the lions are waiting for me, I believe, before they move. You can see now it's still very much cleaning time. They're not worried about anything else. Kenny, that is something I have noticed. If you can check right there on top of their normal eyes, just above the pupil, look at that. You can see that they have got some false eyes there. When they are closing the eyes, those false eyes serve as if it's open. They are seeing something coming. Yes, you can see lion is a predator, but he also got part of some of the things which can confuse other animals as if they are watching them while they're sleeping. Look at that. Let's see, Hosanna is now on the move. Look at that. So this animal has got such a... So apologies, we have just lost some signals by Hosanna, so that's why now I am back again showing what the lions are trying to do at the moment. You can see that this animal has got a very big body size, but they can be able to reach all the way to the back. They can open the legs like that and try to clean every part of the body. So the areas which are inaccessible is good because they do this kind of grooming each other. When they're licking each other is when they are at least helping each other to reach some other inaccessible areas. Anna Marie, the lions grooming is part of their greeting and is something that they're doing every time, not necessarily before hunting. Every time lions, they prefer to clean themselves. So before they go for hunting, oh, one of them just coughed now. Before they go for hunting, yes, like now, they are grooming each other. They might now go for hunting, but the grooming has got nothing to do with hunting activities.
Taking pictures with the flash.
I am not alone at the moment here by the sighting. I do have some other guests. That is why you can see I have got some of the flashlights going on there because they are also trying to take pictures from their cameras. Let's go to Mara now. Jenny, my other colleague, he's got a very beautiful sighting of hyena.
They are wide awake, and in the case of Hershey, he's currently giving himself a jolly good bath. Now, we really wanted to show you the beautiful view that we have on the cub cam at the moment, but then they all wandered away from it. One of them put the cable tie in front of it and then moved away. I'm going to have to troubleshoot this whole process. There's definitely a more efficient way of doing things. Down. Hey! Down. Whoever you are. Stop it. Eyes in the back of your head, I promise you with this lot. Here we go. Pay's desperately trying to get Mom to give her a feed. Oh, Manu, I know it's not the best shot in the world, but it's there and it's pretty. It's so pretty. With that sunset. There we go, well done. You managed to frame out the... How stunning is this? Absolutely beautiful. Hi, Billy. Hey, big girl. Shame. She's one of the most low-ranked hyenas in this clan. Hershey. Sorry. I'm trying to stop them from smashing anything that they shouldn't. Billy's one of the lowest ranked hyenas in this clan. So there she is over there. They've got hold. I'm going to have to move, and I don't want to because Billy's not usually this, to use James's words, confiding with our space. But I might have to move shortly. It's so pretty though. And hello to Tamsin, who is 7 years old. And Tamsin, I should have told you all about these hyena cubs' ages, and I just haven't thought of it up until now. So Paisley was born in, I think it was November 2017. It was either October or November 2017, which would make her, count with me, December, January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August. She's nearly 9 months old. Around about 9 months old. The youngest one here is probably around about 6 months old. So they are approaching the age where they're getting really curious about what awaits them outside of the den. There's some Topi dashing in. Hershey's going to go for them, I think, just because he can. He likes to run after things. We noticed that last night. He went running after zebra without any hope of ever catching one. He just thought he'd give it a try. Cubs are so curious at this age. There you go, Tamsin. They're at that age where they want to help the adults with the whole hunting process, but they're just not quite sure how to do it. You're going to mess this up. Be careful. Soup following along behind, making sure nothing goes wrong along with Hershey. essentially what they're doing when they stop and they watch. And we've found North Clan on a few topi kills. Look at the cubs. Oh goodness, that's adorable. Alright, we're going to let these guys dash off into the distance and probably try and keep up with them. Let's go and find out whether Tundi shows any sign of moving.
She was moving and then she went back to sleep again. She looked fairly concernedly off towards the south of where she is now, and we went and we did a little turnaround, couldn't find Tlalamba, but we're not going to drive around and look for her with all the hyenas around, potentially giving her a bit of a fright. We're just going to sit here quietly. We've got no light on this animal, it's just the infrared light on, and that of course is because, well, she's got meat, there are hyenas around, it's quite sensitive with a cub. We wouldn't, I mean, as far as possible, we try not to use light anymore at night. We try and use tools like this infrared and of course the thermal that Tristan had. Tristan's had to run home to camp, I'm afraid, because Wendy is giving uphill, that's the vehicle he's on, and we can't really have that because it's 0500 tomorrow morning. We go live to television in the United States, Nat Geo Wild, 11 p.m. Eastern Time. You can work out what time that is wherever you are. If you don't live in the United States, fear not, you can watch it on the internet. And then after the 1 hour show we have SafariLive overtime from 6 to 7. I hope that Tundi is performing slightly more impressively tomorrow morning. Justin, yes, I have a very good idea of what Hukumuri is up to at the moment, interestingly. We think he crossed onto Djuma today at round about 7:30 this morning. I went for a run at around about 12 o'clock this afternoon, while Herbert was actually tracking him and what seemed to be a female, so Shudulu and Hukumuri, and I found his tracks not far from our camp, heading west. I found Herberto on my run. Herberto came scuttling over and tracked him into Arathusa, where they spotted him. They didn't go into Arathusa, obviously, but they found him on Arathusa just across the boundary. So Arathusa is the reserve to the west of Djuma, and that's where he was. We thought he might come this way. Unfortunately, he didn't. He disappeared and went all the way west. That is a beautiful shot of the Queen in infrared. Hello, Your Majesty. You're looking wonderful. And although she can't see the infrared light, obviously it's bouncing off the back of her eyes there. That's why she looks like she's from an evil storybook. This camera really does make a very nice black and white picture at night, infrared picture. Right, I believe Sydney is not with his lions, unfortunately, and he's now got his spotlight out. Where?
I have now started using my spotlight, as the camera we have got this afternoon is not suitable enough to see the Unkuhumas at night. So I decided to leave the sighting as it was not clear anymore. Now I'm just trying my luck and see what I'm going to find on my way back now. Make use of my spotlight. Maybe we might find something like a bush baby or the owls. Ashlyn, working by the SafariLive is very much interesting because there's quite a lot of things to learn, and the interaction with the people from abroad is interesting. For me, this is a nice job, and I don't think I will leave SafariLive. Very much quiet up by this tree. Now let's see, hyenas are doing some other interesting activities there by Mara. Jenny is having them as I'm talking to you now.
Listen. Hirsch, your voice still hasn't broken yet. So cute. It's still a little high-pitched. I think Hirsch has got a little way to go with that whoop. I don't know how you lot all feel, but that's how I feel. That was still a little baby whoop. Of course, most whoops are made by the males as a way of announcing the territory or the territorial boundaries. Someone else is whooping in the distance. And I don't know who it is, and I don't know which hyena to follow. Do I follow Soup or do I follow Hershey? I've got this feeling I've got to follow Hirsch. As the son of the matriarch, he's going to take us fun places. Ah, Gremlin, you want to know if hyena clan wars are common? I think they probably happen at least. That's beautiful. Maybe, I don't know, I can't give you an exact time, but yes, they're pretty common along boundaries, especially when there's food involved. So yes, I would say that they are relatively common. We actually, without giving too much away, witnessed my first real up-close and personal clan war not too long ago when we went racing off with the North clan and followed them. I'm not going to give too much more away there. Soup, where are we going? She's moved behind the car. I'm trying to keep an eye on all of them. Okay. Pick a side, Jamie. We're going to follow Hershey tonight. We're going to try and follow Hershey tonight. I don't know how successful we're going to be, but Hershey's up. Big stretch. I'm sorry if I offended you about your whoop. It was a very manly whoop. Or a very hyena-ly whoop. I'm sorry, boy. It was a bit high-pitched. Check out those spots on his thigh. That's how I always recognize him. You see how there's three sort of joined together, like the pen bled when he was being marked out with his spots? That's how I always recognize Hirsch. Alright, we're off. We're off. Where are we off to now? This is where we don't stop for the next 5 hours. Into the dark we go. There's a big hole there. To try and find out where Hirsch is going to take us. I know where we're going to go. We're going to go across the lugger. Except I can't get across that lugger. Alrighty. We're going to be keeping a very close eye on our hyena tonight, much like Tundi back in South Africa.
Well, we've just spotted the other one. We've got little Salamba in a tree as well. Now, there she is. Now the hyenas obviously discovered her, and you can see she's not very pleased about the whole situation. She's escaped. I suspect she was trying to come towards the kill. And the hyenas chased her up there. They're now between her and her mum. Very sweet little thing, but she's got a serious look on her face, much like her brother Tamba. Tamba was from the previous litter, everybody, also on his own. He was 2, or he is now 2. They're just a little bit younger than Hosanna. Now she's trying to find a comfortable place to rest in that tree. She's going to struggle there. Doesn't look very nice at all. Looking down at the hyenas, there's at least 3 or 4 hyenas here. Yeah, Paul, I don't think she's going to pounce on anything. I think she's going to stay precisely where she is and wait for the hyenas to move off. She may have to climb a little bit higher. There's some nice flat branches there that she can sleep on. But Mum has hardly moved since we got here. Just shifting about a little bit, of course, because it's not very comfortable up on those trees, but much more comfortable than having a hyena's teeth in your backside. Well, we'll just have another last look at Little Tlalamba. We will, of course, attempt to come out here at 4 o'clock tomorrow morning, and I know that you're all very glad that she's safe in her tree there. We're all, Senzo and I were just talking about what we would do if we thought that she was in danger. And look, I know that we're not supposed to do the sort of thing or even say it, but I can tell you for free that those hyenas would have got a nasty fright from the words we'd have said to them. I'd have been very unable to watch Little Tlalamba attacked by hyenas. I mean, look at that. Right, everybody, that is the end of the Sunset Safari for this 3rd of August. Tomorrow is my father's birthday, so please wish him all the best. We will see you tomorrow for the internet side of the show from 6 to 7, otherwise for the TV show. Until then, bye-bye.